Good evening, everyone. Hello, hello. Call the meeting to order. All right, so we will start with the open forum. So anyone has anything? Can somebody agree to be the moderator, please? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
We have a suggestion box right now that's in this room, but in the gym, because it's open early in the morning, if there's issues with the equipment and stuff, there's no way for people to leave notes. Is there a way to put a suggestion box in there so we can do that?
I thought the suggestion box was already there.
It's on this side, but not in the gym.
I see. Is that something we can do?
Sounds fine to me.
When I was a kid, we used spray paint.
You get arrested these days.
Yeah, we can consider that.
Okay, in the back.
Last week, Adam talked to us, and you addressed the issue of the almost $175,000 that was removed from reserves and put into the general fund. And that, have you gotten anywhere as to finding out when that was done?
I made a promise at our last meeting to get to the bottom of that very quickly. I'm working on that. And we do have on the agenda tonight financial management for June 3rd. I'm hoping it doesn't take till June 3rd to have that answer. I do hope to have it soon. I don't have it tonight.
Is there any possibility we should be getting our attorney involved? Because if you read the CCRs, there's a specific process that had to be followed with that. It had to be brought to the board, it had to be public, and it has to be paid back within a year
Yes.
from the time.
There is a process for that, and yes, I am working on that.
Were you aware of that? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So do you know where it went?
Well, I am aware of those rules. I'm working on the facts of the actual matter. I don't have those for you tonight.
Can I ask who you have to contact to get it? Get the information?
Quite a few people.
Okay.
Okay, gentleman in the back.
I have a question for the attorney. We recently added 2 members to our board. Is there anything that prevents us from adding 2 more in the interim?
The board has the ability to fill any vacancies that exist at any time.
Okay. In light of the ongoing, I don't know, for lack of a better term, misunderstandings, not knowing we're having an answer to where $175,000 is gone, the conditions that the clubhouse is in, I'd like to recommend to the board, I'll make a suggestion to the board, that Craig, you're a wonderful person, you've done a lot for the community, but I think it's time for you to move on. I mean, we had 4 board members that resigned, all of the delegates resigned, and the only legacy that we have is you. And a question was asked, where's money? And we don't have an answer. We should have an answer tonight. So in light of that, I'm making a recommendation that Craig, you resign, or that Craig is removed from the board, and we elect 3 additional board members in the interim, so that we have a little bit more diversity on the board, so we can go at this from a clear slate. Because from a member in the community, this is of concern to me, deeply concerned. Because I've asked questions, not only about where that money's gone, but I noticed that we're hiring people, and I asked questions, where are the job descriptions? I never received job descriptions. Not only did not receive job descriptions, but we're hiring people. We spend $6,000 on a review of this building, and we don't have the money. So I'm concerned about where's the money. So it's not against you, Craig. I just think we need a clean slate. So, Amir, I'm asking of you and Mark that if you don't want to resign, that he's removed from the board, and we elect 3 additional board members, since it's okay according to the attorney.
Well, hold on there. It's,
Did you say that we can add 2 new
no,
board
the
members?
board can. The board cannot remove another board member absent cause.
The delegates can.
That was what the recall process was discussed earlier in this year. So in terms of Mr. Osborne's service, that is something that would require a recall process, and because of the timing of the election, that would almost be impossible to do.
No, it's not impossible because we just did it.
No, they chose to resign, they were not removed. The 4 board members that resigned.
But we had 320 signatures,
It
which
was-
is more than 5% that we needed, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So that brings up a vote, not an actual removal. You
Yeah.
still had to vote to remove them from there.
Okay. So is that what we need to do?
I never served the petition, right? I didn't need to.
No, you had 300, you're saying that you didn't have?
No, I haven't. But we have to serve it to the board.
No, I understand, but I
So-
just understood what, the attorney just said that he can't be removed unless he resigns. I'm
Right.
asking you, Craig, to resign. And if you don't resign,
person.
I'm sorry?
That's one person. Maybe not everybody wants that, there's other people.
Okay, but I'm not just one person.
Right.
Okay, I'm speaking for a bunch of people. So, just like you're speaking for someone, I understand, I'm not saying there's anything against Craig. I think he's a wonderful person, he's done some wonderful things. I think we had 320 signatures that said we wanted a new board. It wasn't 3 board members, 2 board members, or please resign, it was the entire board. So, there's 320 people that says that we want a new board. And if we have to start that over, if I'm understanding that correctly, attorney? I'm sorry, what's your?
Bruce,
Bruce, I'm sorry, forgive me. So if Craig doesn't resign, we need to do, the petition needs to be done, or can be submitted requesting it. Is that what I'm understanding? Is that the only way?
That the procedure for members to seek the removal of an existing board member is similar to what happened with Governor Gray Davis. The citizens sought to recall the governor. That is a separate election to decide whether a board member is recalled or not. If they're recalled, then there is an election to fill the vacancy. That's what we did. That's how Schwarzenegger became governor. The same concept would apply here.
Okay. So I would think that if everyone in this room, everyone in the community would be concerned about money that's not here.
So-
We get a budget that was submitted, that was mailed out to all of us. And I do financing. I'm looking at the budget as a joke. Money's missing, money's not accounted for. 175 that was borrowed from where and put where, and you don't have an answer? A simple
Well,
question.
that wasn't quite what the question was that I was saying I didn't have the answer to.
Okay, so where's the money?
Where'd it go?
So, can I speak to his
sure,
points?
sure, please.
Okay, so you raised several important points. I want to address all of them, and I think I'm going to address them in almost the same sequence that you brought up. If I miss one, please remind me.
The first one was asking you to resign.
One of the things that we're going to be talking about tonight is accelerating the election process. My seat is up for election in this election. It's up for election. It's going to be up whether it's a matter of days, weeks, or months from now. We're going to be talking about that. You'll hear me advocate to accelerate that process as much as possible tonight for many of the reasons you're talking about, so that everyone in the community can have their voice. They can have their voice on every single candidate, including myself. They should. That's only fair. Look, let's also speak about the issue on the investigation you asked about. So in our last meeting, I made a commitment, and I'm upholding that commitment to, in my new role as CFO, I just took that role on, how many days ago? 2 weeks maybe?
13 days.
13 days, thank you. I just took on that new role. There were a number of things that went on improperly on that last board, and without the
Like
proper
what?
and without the proper visibility.
Like what?
And I'm working on getting to the bottom of those things. I don't have
There
answers.
was nothing inappropriate, nothing improper.
So does that
Everything
money-
was done.
So the 175, did it go in the last board's tenure? When
So-
did that 175 go? Did it go in the last board's tenure?
I didn't hear your question.
The timing of the 175,000, did it go after the new board took over
So-
or in the last board's time frame?
So what he's referring to is something that was brought up in the audit that we just all received on April 30th. That was an audit of the fiscal year 2017. So January 1 of 2017 to December 31st of 2017. That was the year that was under that specific audit. You'll recall that I was the strong advocate to even have that audit in the first place so that we could have better transparency and better understanding of those finances. We just now received that audit report April 30th, which was how many days ago? A few days ago. Now that I'm CFO, I am very seriously taking my role seriously. And as I made the commitment at our last meeting, I'm looking into that. I'm getting to the bottom of that. Am I at the bottom yet? No. Am I going to get to
Was the board sent, excuse me, was the budget sent to you first? I mean, to the board? Did you guys get it first before it went out?
Was-
The rest of us? The
I'm sorry.
budget?
No, we got it at the same
No,
time.
same
All got it
time.
at the same time. Yes.
You're talking about the audit, not
Audit, I'm sorry.
Okay, different
Yeah.
from the budget. Right, we all got it at the same
All
time,
got it at the same time.
like a matter of minutes.
I took maybe 2 minutes, and I see several discrepancies that I have issues with.
You're not the only one.
So, not to have an answer, that's just not, at this point, we're past not having answers.
I understand that, and that's why I'm looking into it. Yes, I was, and as I mentioned, transparency was a problem. Transparency even for me. I'm getting to the bottom of it. I'm using the professionals that we have at our disposal for that, and I will continue to do so, and my commitment stands that I will report back to the community what we find. I don't know the answer yet tonight. Of course, I wish I did. I wish I had it a week ago. I don't. I'm working on it. It's a process.
So, there was 3 questions that you said that I had asked. You didn't answer one of them. The first one was whether or not you resigned. I mean, just in the interest of, it's nothing against you, you can run again, okay? But just in the interim right now, having new faces, new ways of thinking, and visionary going into this, I think would be a tremendous help to all of us.
Thank you so
I
much.
disagree.
I will be speaking.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, I have a problem when the money that we all put in is not accounted for. I mean, I think that's an issue, don't you?
Moderate.
I'm sorry?
This is from the previous board.
He's a part of it.
He was a board member
Yeah,
for
but
12 years.
who was the CFO for that one? Does the CFO have an answer for that one? And back then
He,
the board.
he sat on that board when those discussions took place
So-
and had to approve it.
I guess my point is, my point is not the
It was
financial.
part of it because to have a meeting, only 4 is enough. 5 is not enough, 5 is not required for a quorum. So I don't know whether he was part of that discussion or whether part of that meeting.
He was a part of it.
He was not the
I don't know.
CFO, that's for sure.
I'm just saying.
The minutes said.
Hey, guys.
Hold up,
Guys,
Come on.
let's keep it in
Well, I
order.
mean, he's still answering
So-
my, you said you're gonna answer my question.
Okay, so did I skip
First one
some?
was whether or not you resign.
He's asking whether or
Regardless
not
of
you
whether or
will
not you-
resign.
Regardless of whether or not you're coming up in November, or whenever it happens to be.
I want to speak to a lot more members in the community before I make a decision like that. And my seat is up for reelection.
Okay?
No,
No.
the answer is no.
Thank you for answering.
Okay,
Okay?
next question.
Wait, no.
I speak
He's
correct.
still answering. What's the
Actually-
second question?
No one can speak for me. That was not my answer. I gave my answer. My answer was I want to speak with members of the community before I answer that. That's an important question you're asking. I honor your question. It's a great question. I want to speak with more members of the community before I give a quick answer.
Okay. so
That's,
one
that,
of
that
the-
is
fair
my
answer.
answer.
Okay, so that's one of the 3 questions that I asked?
Did I miss one?
You even restated, I asked 3 questions.
I'm sorry, what did I miss?
I asked 3 questions. Did you only hear one? Because the only one that you've answered is whether or not you resign.
Someone help me. What
so
did I miss?
can you repeat the other 2 questions for him again, please?
So I'd asked whether or not you would resign in the interest of the community as a whole, new faces on the board. And then I asked whether or not you had reviewed this budget that you didn't, excuse me, not budget, it's
Audit.
financial audit. Did you review it, even though it's uncertified? And you reviewed it, and the answer was?
Yes, I reviewed it.
Okay, so when you looked at that budget and the 175 that stood out to you.
It's not a
you
budget,
didn't-
it's an audit report.
Audit report. You didn't think that was an important enough question to ask?
That is a very important question. That's why I'm looking into it.
That's not something that couldn't have been answered before. I mean, you were part of the board for 12 years. I mean, you don't know the answer to that question? I mean, if it was moved, I'm sorry, where did the money go again? The 175? You said it came from someplace and went someplace. Where did it go? What company?
I didn't say that. I said I'm looking into it.
It went from the general fund?
Reserved for the general fund.
Right, but doesn't it require two signatures? Doesn't it require two signatures to move?
I believe that's true.
Yes, it is.
And who were those two
So who are the
signatures?
two signatures?
That's part of what I need to be looking into.
So,
We asked
Yeah.
the lawyer, he will make sure that that's done for us, please.
Is that something that you can do for us, just to confirm that?
What's that?
Who the signatures were on moving the funds from the general?
I can certainly, at the direction of the board, I can certainly look into it and report to the board. Absolutely.
okay, so has the board heard that direction, or will the board will make that direction?
So the question is, you want to know who the two signatories are for the fund?
And when it was done.
And for what purpose is that done?
Okay, so does that need a motion to ask, or?
And then my last question was,
Member comment.
Yeah.
This is just member comment. There's no action with these items.
Okay.
This is just, you're taking in information,
Okay.
but not acting on it unless it's on the agenda as a specific item. This is the member comment. You're just hearing them out.
Okay,
The reason I mentioned about not serving the petition is because I purposely haven't thrown it away or discarded it, because it's my intention that if we don't move to an election very quickly, then I will serve it, because it's my understanding that then we have to have action within 20 days of that being served. So even though I'm on the board, I've made it known that I'd be happy to relinquish. Right?
so, back to the attorney, are those signatures still valid?
Yeah.
In lieu of the fact that we have two new board members? Or do we have to redo the petition again?
No, there's no time limit on it.
let's,
Does the,
let
does
us,
the petition name the board members?
People signed with the old board, not with the new board.
It doesn't, it's the board.
I
There's no
would have
time.
to, two things. One, you're not my client, so I can't give you legal advice, and I'd have to evaluate it based upon what's presented and consult with the client, which is the corporate board. So I'm in that proverbial, the city attorney can't give the citizen legal advice, if that makes
So,
sense.
speaking of my attorney, that is an issue. Okay?
Okay,
So
so,
that, we need to, if you don't mind,
no.
could you get that clarified?
well, in my mind, it's clarified. And if the election doesn't move quickly, I'm serving the papers, so to force the election to happen. Right, I'm gonna do that. Now, the other thing is that I'll make a suggestion, and I'm very glad that John Brock is in the audience, because he could verify this if it needs verifying. When I met with John and Uni, my suggestion was not that he resign immediately, but that he post-date a resignation, hang around until election time, and then, if he would like to rerun, but I didn't suggest that he leave tonight, right? As it turned out,
To John, or?
to John and to Uni. Now, as it turned out, they moved quicker. So the only thing I'll say to you is that I agree that the board should be complete, we should have complete elections. And if somebody reruns, fine, right, and all that stuff. But I would just say that maybe for the moment, we offer to Craig, in a sense, the same thing that I said to John, and that is, make it known. Now, it happens to be known by Craig that his seat is up anyway. And so if we could have the election tomorrow, then he might not win, right? He might be out.
Or you might win.
Or he might win. But he's not in control of the board. You got, there's two other guys. And so I would simply say, let's go past tonight. Let's find out from Bruce. Hopefully, he's got some information about how soon the election can take place. And then maybe I make a decision about serving the papers, and so on and so forth, and we go from there. So I
So my
don't know if that's a good compromise, but,
last portion of it, which I will modify a little bit, is my concern with, I mean, they're my neighbors. So the folks over in the village, where the trees are pushing up the sidewalk, pushing up their foundation, as a homeowner, I know if that becomes an issue, that all of us, HOA, will have to pay for that. And I don't understand why that's taking so long to make a decision. When I look at that budget, or excuse me, the audit that was done, there's no money for taking those trees out.
So can we talk about
There's a
that during our,
contract that was in place to
number
take
3?
those trees out, that the landscaper was paid for, that these folks, they're not getting what they paid for. So who's gonna be responsible for taking those trees out?
So there is an agenda item that we can dive into detail if you don't mind. Can we do that?
In the third row.
Is that okay?
I'm gonna be brief.
Yep.
I have a list of concerns about the contract staff, and I know that that's been mentioned. I'm thinking that might be part of the agenda tonight, and now that Bruce is here, maybe he can address some of those liability concerns that some of us have had with the current contract. So I'll be brief, but I do have questions since he's here, so I'm hoping we get to that at some point tonight.
Okay.
Since the election and the questions came up and serving the petition, I would like to hear from that one. If the petition is served, what is the process? Because last time I heard some other, like he will have to go to the state and then request for somebody to be in charge or something till the election comes. So if he can tell us that process, that will help us out. Because right now we are all saying that, okay, we just want the petition served, so that knowing that process would certainly help in knowing what we are up against also.
So, Bruce, the question was, if the petition gets served, then what is the process?
As a practical matter, based on my understanding of where we are with the election process, it becomes immaterial, because by the time you could do anything with the petition, we're already going to be in the middle of the election. So essentially, my understanding is we already are effectively in a recall position right now as we speak. So I don't think the recall could do anything that's already not
Being done?
being
Okay.
done.
Okay,
And I don't think it could do any faster.
okay.
Miss?
Just to kind of go back on do you know when this transfer was made on these funds? Do we have any idea when it happened? And do we have board members or board minutes that reflect it? Because that's also a requirement in section 6-10.
Those are all excellent questions, Pam. Those are the same questions I have and the same questions that I'm working on having answers. Like I said, I wish I had the answers tonight. I don't have the answers tonight. That depends on a number of things that are in process, and I committed last week to getting those answers. That's exactly what I'm doing. What's happening now.
Not meaning to be rude, but who do you have to speak to in order to get these answers?
As I said before, several people.
Well, can you name them?
No.
I mean, we're all in it together here, Craig.
I won't right now.
Transparency.
Transparency is important, so is protecting an investigation.
Protecting the investigation. Go ahead.
Who's doing the investigation?
I've promised I'm working on those answers.
You mean,
I don't mean
We
to
as
be,
members
I don't
aren't
mean to be rude, that doesn't make me feel comfortable.
Okay.
This is the kind of work that I spend a great deal of time in doing. And if you're not getting answers from,
I'm not saying I'm not getting answers. I'm saying there's a process. It takes it.
No, we're talking about, we're not.
when there's
getting
money involved, you've made some accusations that there was wrongdoing by the previous
I don't
board.
think I quite said it that way.
Well, yeah, you came pretty close to it.
Yeah.
Okay, and John spoke up and asked specifically what. And if there's wrongdoing, then we have a right to know about it.
Yes, you do.
It affects everybody in this room.
Yes, you do. Yes, we all do. We all do. We're all members. We all have that right.
But if you're not getting these answers, this is a big deal of money. And if it's been over a year, then maybe the attorney needs to be writing letters to the people that made the decisions or would have been responsible for the decisions, saying, cough up the information, what happened? And that would be Dimitri, it would be Phil.
I agree with what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying.
But then maybe that's what the board needs to be doing, is giving the attorney directions to get to them. Because technically, at this point in time, we don't know if, but there's a possibility funds were misappropriated. We already know that there's no money in the reserves to pay for the bills work. It's not even a line item. And, you know?
It's important that we get those answers. I wish the answers would come quicker than they're coming. I made a promise as the brand-new chief financial officer to get those answers. That's in process, and it's my duty to this association to do things in the members' best interests, and that includes protecting an investigation while it's ongoing.
Again, who's doing the investigation and how long do we have to wait?
Yeah,
I have to give a deadline when I do them.
we're asking a direct question,
You are asking a direct question, and
and we want a direct answer, please.
I'm sorry, I've given the best answers that I can right now.
What are we hiding?
So much for transparency.
Can we get a timeline?
I mean, wasn't that the problem when we had the new board? They were hiding, supposedly the old board was hiding?
I want to be really clear. I'm not hiding information. I'm trying really hard to work. The three responsibilities that I have, that every board member has, are good faith, best interest of the members, and reasonable inquiry.
You don't think that's a reasonable inquiry to know where the money went?
And I'm talking about the responsibilities that I have to do. I have to work in good faith, and the same with my colleagues at this table. We have to work in good faith, we have to work in the members' best interest, and we have to make reasonable inquiries. I'm doing all three of those things with getting to the bottom of this excellent question that's been asked. It was asked last week. It came to my mind even before last week when it was asked. I'm looking into it. I'm acting in good faith. I'm acting in the best interest, as I see it, of all of us as members. I am a homeowner, just like everyone in the room, most everyone in the room. And I'm doing the best I can on reasonable inquiry, and I've committed and I've promised to give those answers when they're ready. They're not ready.
But you may be off the board before we get it. That's why it's reasonable to say, how long do we wait? Before
Can we have a
you
bite?
give us an update,
Yeah.
we know that it needs to go to a next step.
Well,
I mean,
to that concern, I will also add that even in the event that I'm not on the board by the time the inquiry finishes up, I will stay as involved as I possibly can be in whatever role I may have to try to help get those answers.
but see, once you're off, if you're voted off the board, then you don't, nobody has to talk to you at that point.
Well, that's what I'm
The
saying.
people that are accountable on this were the 5 members on the board at the time that this all happened,
Agreed.
okay? There's been comments made that things weren't done right
Yes.
by the previous board, but there's been no inquiries or
So,
no.
So-
ma'am, no. There have been many inquiries. Let me tell you.
There's been no information given to us as to what those.
That information will absolutely be given.
So,
With the audit, now we come out and there's $175,000 that has been transferred from reserves into the general fund, and nobody knows anything about it.
so
Uh,
Pam,
That's the
can I,
transparency that we need, and that's what I'm
can I,
working to do.
real quick, just in the interest of time, can we talk about this during the agenda item number 4? We have a whole section on financial management. Can we just do that? And maybe you can think about some more, answers that you may want to give them directly.
Okay,
Is that good?
next is right behind you. Did you still have your question?
With me?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I'd like to ask a question because I'm hearing a couple conflicting answers to this. And I'm really hoping, Craig, that you can give me a straight answer, okay? Without having it to be looked into. we met on Sunday, and there was a new lady that was the new event planner. Did you know that she was hired?
I was told shortly after she was hired that she had been hired, yes.
Okay, and who was she hired by?
I believe she was hired by Jane.
Okay, so, and who does Jane work for? Consortium or us?
Would Adam like to speak to that?
Sure. Jane reports to the board, but she's on our payroll as a co-employee. So if the board wishes, they could assign responsibility to us to provide supervision or extra management responsibility to assist or supervise Jane and her team.
Okay, so you do that, right? You supervise her team?
If we were given direction from the board, we could do that.
But as it stands now, you don't have that control over her. Is she a contractor or is she
No, she
paid
is-
by you?
She is an employee of the association. Her payroll runs through our payroll, but she works for the association.
So she's given W-2 wages?
Yes.
Okay, and so, but who gives her direction?
Comes
The
from
board gives her direction.
She has responded very well to any proposals or ideas that we put her direction.
And actually, that's not what I heard,
Okay.
but what I wanted to do was just clarify that, so that we're kind of all on the same page, because it seems to be a consistent humming there of some
I
disgruntlement.
have two more already.
Okay, so,
Okay.
and when people spread rumors and say, this is what it is, and no, it's this, we need to get clarification so that when somebody asks me, I know what I'm talking about and I can directly answer that question. So if she's a co-employee and she's not taking direction from you, she has to take direction from the board. The other question with that was, wasn't she supposed to be certified when she started here? Was she supposed to have certifications?
I'm unaware of any requirement being put on.
Craig, can you answer that?
When you say supposed to, I'm not sure what you're referring to. What rule are you referring to?
Sherry, you want to chime in on this? Because there were,
I don't know what the, I know the certifications as far as her experience as a property management, CPR, those types of things. But I don't know what the board who hired her, what were their qualifications when they hired her. I don't know, maybe their qualifications didn't require that. I would like that to be a requirement, but I had no, just like nobody else.
So I think what I'm hearing Sherry say
Yeah,
is,
it's a job description.
yeah. do
I
we
think
have
what
a
I'm
job
hearing Sherry
description?
say is she would like that to be a requirement, and I think everyone's very familiar with the
Well,
many, many
especially
times
if
that
it's a
I've said I want
co-employee and
requirements.
She answers to the board, who's a volunteer board, which again speaks to the liability issues I
Exactly.
have, rather than being under the full guidance of a property management company who would make sure that they're trained and retrained and certified and those types of
Exactly.
things. That's one of my liability issues
Yep.
that
Do
I
we have a duty
Exactly.
statement for Jane? Do we have a job description for Jane?
And how are people
Do
getting
we
hired
have
if the
her
board
salary?
doesn't know about it?
And
until it's
how are
already
people,
happened?
exactly. How are people getting hired without it coming forward and being offered to other people?
Jane, do you want to speak to that?
There's
Why do we
a,
have a
it's open.
$300,000?
Retired, I mean, applications are open to anybody in the community to come in and
It
apply.
wasn't communicated, Jane.
How many people applied for the violations compared to?
Well, at the violations, what happened with the violations is Case left a week before the transition. So I had to hurry up and fill a position within a week.
And how was that position advertised?
It was advertised just on the board, on the outside only.
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
Did the board approve that hire? Or did you just hire them? Not that you did anything wrong. I'm
The
just
board
trying to-
approved that hire.
The old board did?
Yes.
The board wasn't here.
Craig, were you
On
aware of
April
that?
1st, yes.
the board wasn't,
Yes, the board was here April 1st.
Yeah, it was.
Nobody resigned until after
It
April.
was
It was
April 8th.
It was
or-
resignations were April 8th.
so was it communicated in a meeting?
It was in one of the executive sessions.
So there's no minutes.
Do you know? Okay.
Craig, do you? Were you in that executive session?
We're talking about an executive session that is when, who was hired?
Nick, so,
I don't recall that.
And how many applicants were there for the position?
there were only two. I only had a week to hire someone. because
But it
of
didn't
the-
get posted, because I'll tell you right now, I live here.
It was
I
posted.
spent 30 years of my life doing exactly what you have these people out here doing. I didn't need any training to go in and do it. I have great concerns based upon the comment that was put up on next door Anatolia, by somebody that received one of your violations yesterday. And the ticket was hung on the door, refers them to call NCM if they have questions, and it wasn't even a violation. The guy had a car cover on his car in his driveway.
Well, that's because that Craig sent out an email saying to look at tarped cars and covered cars and it's violated.
I'm sorry. There's a difference between a tarp and a car cover. This was a car cover with straps underneath, snugging it down to the body of the vehicle.
Not only that, Jane, but, and I'm not picking on you or anything, but the fact is that when you're running an operation like this, there's a level of qualification and due diligence that is a part of your responsibility.
And I am. We are
Okay,
training
hold on,
them.
Hold on a second. This is a member comment period. It's not a dialogue. So what I respectfully ask the board and management, listen. Please don't debate. It's your opportunity for them to comment. And I think a back and forth is not statutorily what the Open Meetings Act is all about. Because what we're doing is these, not saying these are not hugely important issues, but the way that they're addressed, members have a right to say, Houston, we have a problem. This is an issue. I want this raised. But it is not appropriate for any member of the board or management to engage in a conversation. This could be literally 1,000 people here. And so this could go on for hours. The statutory requirements, we must provide members an opportunity during an open forum to speak for a reasonable period of time and for them to, as they are doing, raise issues of concern that the board directing management, it's then incumbent on them to respond to. So I want not to engage in.
Hold on,
Rachel.
Yeah, this is the end part, hold on, this is the end part of this. And it plays into what Pam was saying about the concern. My understanding is whoever's going around and doing these things is in an econo van going very slow by people's houses with no identification of that this is an Anatolia car or it's anything saying that they.
Liable if they hit a kid.
Not only that, but if I had my grandbabies here and I saw something like that, I would think they're gonna be abducted.
They were by my house, and my wife was upset, she didn't know who they were.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's-
I'd like to speak to this for a moment. I'd like to speak to this a moment. Everyone, I believe, has a copy of this proposed Anatolia recovery plan. This is the same that was passed out last week. The pages are in a slightly different sequence, but it's the same information. What Rachel's rightfully bringing up, and what I'm hearing from several other people, including Daryl and Sherry and several other people, goes to a contract fix that's needed. Their contract that's in place now, which I will tell you I was not in favor of, but it was put in place by the board at that time, the majority board, needs to be fixed. It's a contract problem that needs to be fixed. You can, I spent quite a bit of time.
So, Craig, hold on, guys.
Craig, this is a member comment period,
So,
not a board
can I-
comment period.
Can I,
It's not a contract problem.
Okay, good one.
so can I,
I'll open forum finish.
can I say something real quick?
The other issue is I would like to ask for the duty statement and the duty statement of Jane and all of the people that are working here, especially in the inspection person, with copies of the DOJ and any credit checks and any background checks that are required when you're around
Okay.
in this area.
So, can I,
Around any of us.
Especially since we're liable for them
So
right
if
now.
you could put that on the list, I'd appreciate it. And we need to have that, and we need to have that ban stopped.
And an org chart.
And an org chart, yes.
Needs to be marked.
so, real,
And can
real,
we get it in like
Let him speak.
5 days?
Let him speak.
Thank you.
so real quick. So when I, few weeks back was in your chair, now I'm on this side, and the same thing goes with Mark. And you may be thinking, oh, Mark was so animated on that side, now how come he is sitting so quiet, right? And the reason is now we are learning, right? And there is a modus operandi on how we operate. And we had the same kind of questions while we were sitting there. So I understand the problem. So is there a way by which we can collect all these questions and maybe, compile the answers and then put it out?
There is, so long as that is not a substitution for their right to speak. So from a.
Yeah, absolutely. So what
I
I
don't want to silence or gag
Right.
members'
So
right to
the reason why I'm asking is they are asking a lot of questions, and I get the feeling that they are not getting the answers that they are looking for, and there are various reasons for that. I understand. So if you can speak to that as to how we can get them.
As an example, as part of an agenda for the next meeting, there could be response to written questions at prior board meeting or submitted whatever, and it can be an opportunity, not necessarily an action by the board, but to specifically go over some of the issues, because people want to know what's going on, and to be able to know that the next board meeting
They're gonna get their answer.
you're going to either get an answer, or you're going to get, I need more time to get the answer, but here's where I am in this process. I completely agree, but that's kind of why I'm admonishing Jane, not a back and forth. It is a take it in and be prepared to show up at next meeting and address.
So is there a list of questions that we need to collect now?
I'm doing it.
Mark's writing them down.
You are?
Yeah.
You absolutely, you can. And by the way, an important issue that I want to be clear on, the Open Meetings Act, the statute really wants members to have a right to speak, but at the same time, the board is prohibited from taking action if it's not on the agenda. And the rationale there is there's 1,900 members of this community that are not here right now. And they need to know that, oh, you want to change the name of the clubhouse to, we'll fill in the blank, whatever you want to call it. That can't happen tonight, period. That has to be on the agenda, change name of clubhouse, so that all members know. Even if it's a great idea, they can't act on it tonight, which is why I'm saying, feel free to speak up, but the board cannot act on, as a corporate decision, your concerns specifically unless they're already on the agenda.
Jump in on the end here.
Okay. I just came last week and I just got in on a part of this. I'm a simple guy in some ways, and I like to think I'm tolerant. And the truth is, certain things I'm not tolerant about. Have you ever been guilty of one of your children says why? And in a moment of frustration, because I said so. Okay.
Parenting 101.
All right. Church. Now, it would look like to me, the attorney sitting over here represents the association, is that right? All right. And we have a board that we didn't elect, basically. So maybe some, I don't know.
I was elected.
Okay. That's because I came in late, I didn't, all right. But what we're being asked to, in essence, to say, because I said so. And at this moment, there is no transparency. Okay? Now, I've been on the receiving end, and I'm not going to go through that, of selective enforcement procedures. And I respect the authority of the association and the homeowners, and it's valuable to us. But let me tell you, I fell on hard times right after I bought the house and the market went down. I got hurt, I couldn't work, and I got behind in my dues. Now, I paid it, and they worked with me fine, and I complimented them on it. But if I hadn't paid it, they can sell my house. Well, if they have that kind of leverage, then we have the leverage, so to speak, of we have a right to our own attorney to represent our own concerns. And this, it has an odor to it. I don't know what it smells like. It's just from the outside. I'm looking from the outside. I don't know any one of these gentlemen, so I have no axe to grind. But there needs to be transparency, and there is a definite lack of it. And I don't want to be political, but this is not a situation. Sign it because I said so, or sign it and read it. This is not Nazi Germany for the Gestapo marches. Now, it's one thing to sit here and talk about it and make remarks, and we have another meeting and still don't get answered. That's unfortunately, that's our legal system today. You know, 5 years later, you might come up with a solution. But I tell you one thing: get every member to stop paying their dues, and you see how fast it gets settled. You see how fast the truth comes out. That's right. Maybe we need to get not KY3, but the television station. Maybe we need to get the paper involved. We'll get answers. I don't think it's never a place for temper, but use our minds, and love our fellow man, but we have a right to speak for ourselves. And I do not. You have more responsibility, sir, to these people sitting here than the man you made that promise to. Isn't that right?
Does everybody remember the old show, Welcome Back, Kotter?
Yes.
There was an episode where Kotter, it's towards the end of the run of the show, and he's now becoming a comedian, and he goes and he auditions for a gangster who owns a club. And the gangster, and Kotter's telling great jokes. Gabe Kaplan was very funny. He's telling great jokes. Well, the gangster is just sitting in the audience, stone-faced. And so Kotter thinks that he's bombing, and he says to him afterwards, "I guess you didn't like me, I'm sorry." The guy says, "No, you were great, I loved you." He said, but you never laughed. He said, "In here I'm laughing," right? So, Amar said, "I'm sitting here quietly. In here I'm screaming." This whole thing is a really good example of why never again should the association allow this kind of thing to happen. The association has to be in control of the board, not the other way around. People have to be responsible. I personally don't know why Craig doesn't want to say, "Oh, well, I spoke to the bank, and tomorrow I'm going down to look at signature cards," for example. Now, I don't know that. He hasn't communicated that to me. We haven't discussed this. But there could be a reason, like a legal reason, right? That he can't say, "Oh, I've been staking out somebody's house." I don't know. But I would like him to say, "Well, this is what's happened so far," right? And even if he didn't say the actual person, I'd like to hear, like what's going on. I'd like to hear that, well, what we see is that some money wound up going to something. So I'm screaming in here. I'm not silent. I'm in here, I'm screaming about it. But this is some like craziness that goes on. And in the 13 days that we've done this, 13 days that I've been listening to this, I'm a guy who has run my own businesses. So I'm used to just making it happen. I always say I'm not a team player, I'm a team leader. And I don't build consensus, I make decisions. And so to me, that's how I want to act. But it's like, well, the idiocy of how the boards work, this is how you have to do this thing. So, okay. I would hope that my fellow board members would move quickly on things, and if we could put somebody in jail tomorrow, I would think that's good. If we could have elections at the same time tomorrow, or maybe a half hour later, I'd be happy with that. And you have to remember that every single time in the future, that for the, if we live here another 20 years, 25 years, and kids who live here, that you can't let this happen. You got to be in control of this thing. And so I just wanted to pass on. It made me think of Kata, and I had to pass it along to you. But that's right. So we have to move. I'm encouraging. We have to move. We have to go. Let's get the pool fixed. Let's get the trees cut down. I mean, if I have to, I'll chop the tree down. I'll bring the saw and I'll come over. The trees have to come down in the village. We got to do this stuff. And so, okay. So now I'm going to, but I'm screaming. Okay.
So the only other thing I would like to add is the only time the three of us can sit together. So let's say at my work, right? The village landscape thing, I can pull these two guys in and say, let's fix it. Let's discuss, let us come up with a plan, and let's do it. The only time that we three of us can meet is here, right now.
By law.
By law. We have never been together in any meetings other than this.
You can meet anywhere.
Not by law.
We want answers.
I'm listening to the attorney speak. So that is what the direction that they gave. And okay, me and Mark can meet separately. Me and Craig can meet. They both can meet separately, but all three of us cannot meet together.
Right, we can't talk about
Answers.
No, talk about, so there is no.
You two are a majority at that point, and then you become a quorum. So none of you can talk to each other at any point.
And we have not done that, just so you know. So, but my point is that, right, so the point I'm trying to make is all these questions you're asking us, the only way is for the three of us to meet, discuss, come up with answers. Now, if there are some specific questions that is directed to him, now it is up to him to answer. I may have different answers if I'm asked. He may have different answers, right? But I just wanted to add that.
Okay, this gentleman on the aisle is patient.
So let's take 5 more.
Actually, my name is Naresh. Okay, I know all of you very well.
You're in front of the camera. Okay.
And for me, every time we ask something, right, they skip the things based on there is a process we have to follow. So every time, last time I met many people, Demetri, everybody says that there is a process we have to, we'll come back to you. So the time never came up. Okay, they're escaping every time. And the attorney says that, okay, we have 1,000, 2,000 people are there, they have different questions. There won't be 2,000 questions. If you pattern it out, there will be only 10 things. Okay, not 1,000 questions will be different. If you sort it out, right, everybody will have the same similar problems. Okay, we don't have any separate. I don't want to change my community to Anatolia to Nourish Clubhouse. Just not. It's not that question. We have similar questions. I have a question from 2015. There are charges on my lawn things, and I'm not paying for that because I had some issues with the Demetri. So they never sorted out, so they keep on adding the fines to that, late charges. Now it is $850. Okay. Then I'm talking to many people. I spoke to Jane also. She said, okay, we are looking into the issue. We are sorted out. That time never came. Okay, so still we are waiting for your answer. And keep on sending. I sent like 150 emails to them. Okay, 150 emails. Craig was there. Last, all the board members were there, but nobody dared to reply my questions. So I think, okay, do I need to hire my own attorney to solve these problems? So what is your streamlined process? What is your response time? 1 month, 2 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years? Just let us know the process. We want to aware what is going to happen with our issue. Okay, for everything you said, okay, I have to talk to somebody. I don't know the answer now. I cannot answer today. So to whom you are going to talk to? If they are not responding to your questions, then how you communicate to us?
How do we escalate it?
So yeah, how do we escalate that? Every time you say that, okay, today we are emotional, we are coming here and asking you questions. Next month we won't come. We have some other issues also, right? So you won't answer our questions. It's just like people are coming and going. Nobody takes our questions and nobody answers our questions. So how long this will go happen? Do we need to come every time to wait for an answer? What is your process? So when you are going to improve, and you are saying that bylaws are these, all these things. If the bylaws are like this, okay, we are going to sign petition for 200-300 people again to change the bylaws now. Why don't you talk together, meet together, solve the problems as soon as possible? Further, if you need signatures, I'll collect for that. That's all. Just I need that timeline. What is your process time? That's all.
We'll take
Yeah.
So,
And then he said, fine.
no, I said 5 minutes.
Okay.
It's already 8 o'clock, so we need to get to the board. Agenda items. Is there,
Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4.
so shall we go more on to the agenda items? Is there any other question?
I have, my question, well, not really question, I was here in March, like, I think March 27th, for the same issue. I have like
What issue is that?
fines, like excessive fines, and I've been trying to call and contact someone and get help for like 3 years, and I have not been able to get any help, you know. My thing is, I want results. I'm trying to sell the property because I feel like, as I said before, I feel harassed. I have the fines here, like right now, this is just counting, in the past, 25 fines just for garbage cans and landscaping from the drought, items in the yard, lot maintenance, my cars saying that they're inoperable and they're all running. And you know, drones flying over my house, feeling like I'm being watched. This is just so much harassment, and the fines are still coming right now. And another thing, I sold the property to Mrs. Lyles, and the fines are still compiling in my name. They never stop. That they're going by there right now, finding the property.
So
You
is
know.
this something that the property
And I need results because I want to sell the property and get out of Anatolia, but I cannot sell the property with over $6,000 worth of fines. I feel like I've been a target in the area, and I just want to sell the house, and I want these fines removed. That's all I want. I don't want to come here every month and talk about it. I just want results. That's all I want.
Bruce, could you perhaps give us a really quick primer on the hearing process whereby every member has a right to have a specific hearing in front of the board to bring up their issue?
Yes, under the Davis-Sterling Act, that's exactly right, Greg. Certainly with respect to this issue, this is fines are a member discipline process, and so they're generally held in executive session. Members have the right to waive it, the board does not. My recommendation is for the board, when we meet in executive session, to address this issue.
Thank you. We will.
So who will contact me so that I can get to that level?
When?
When
Because
is your
I-
next executive session?
I've been waiting
You
for
wanna
3
speak to that?
years.
I have your contact information,
Okay.
and I made a commitment to you to get in touch with you by the end of Monday.
Okay, perfect.
I'll relay whatever information I can at that time, and
I just need results because it's been ongoing, the harassment, and I just want to move out of the area because I'm pretty much done.
I hope people are hearing the point here. Here's a member who's lived here for quite a few years. She has a grievance. She's bringing her grievance to the board. We're hearing from our attorney that there's a specific process enacted in state law that provides her a method to air this grievance, to bring it to the board in private session without having everyone else be here, and to have her issue listened to by the people on the board, and then for the board to make a decision, whatever that decision is, and then to communicate that back to her. That's a process, it's in law, and as we've heard, that she's asked, our management company provided her contact information, and he's made a commitment to her to get back to her with that opportunity. So this is how it works.
This is the first time she's brought up. Can you also make sure that you...
And Craig, you could have told her that 2 months ago.
Can you give me your contact?
Oh, yeah, right.
She talked to the board, and the board said...
I think that on some of the urgent matters, you have to realize that you wouldn't have heard anything for months at a time,
Good
rather
point.
than every week. So I'm looking forward to see what they do, but I would like it to get results soon.
That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. It's unacceptable when people aren't getting information. He sits on a board that she's been at 2 months or 3 months in a row. Why couldn't he have told her that process back then?
If I may, Rachel, it's not solely Craig's fault. She brought this up, and I'm sorry I don't know your name, at the town hall meeting. And Uni and Jane both walked out with her and said, "We will handle this for you." It is not solely Craig's responsibility to take care of this member.
It's a part
It
of
fell to
education,
Uni and
Andy.
Jane.
It's a part of education, and they're responsible, just like everybody else, for being educated of how to respond to members.
I've been talking to people for 3 years with no result.
They've only been here 13
Yeah,
days.
they've been getting their education during these
Well,
board
we-
meetings.
yeah.
If you stay till the end,
So,
most of them are getting their education while we're here.
so guys,
That's
yeah,
fire.
can we move on to the agenda, please?
Okay.
that. Yeah.
So,
I got a question on the agenda, because
Okay.
based on something Bruce said.
okay, go ahead.
Okay, Bruce just said, if I heard him correctly, that you guys are supposed to stick to this agenda
Yes,
for the meeting, okay?
that is my understanding.
A post got made today, and I'm sorry, Craig, you put a lot of work into this, and I understand it.
What is it?
This is the recovery plan.
Okay.
This is not on the agenda. It clearly states on here that it was to be proposed to the board on May 3rd. It has not been approved. And when the post went out today, it had a whole listing of going to the video that Mark did, telling people to go in and look at all of this stuff, listing the liabilities we have under consortium. Consortium is not on this agenda to be discussed tonight.
Exactly.
So I have not seen next door today, I apologize, but
Right.
I don't know what that is that a part of this agenda today?
I'm requesting that it not be discussed because you guys haven't approved it, number one. And it's not on the agenda, number two.
She makes a good point. She makes an excellent point. Thank you, Pam.
I had a comment, but I guess it just got lost in the atmosphere. My comment or thought was, if someone has a question or something to the board or wants an action, I would think it's great that we're getting it written down, but also another available opportunity would be for people to write it down on their own if they wanted to, so they could present it and they could write it out and have some time to suggest. Well, there's a suggestion box, but when they come into the board meeting, usually there's a form you fill out if you want to talk.
Comment form?
Comment form, so that now we have it in writing, we know, and it's not lost in translation. That would be my suggestion, to have a form that people can fill out when they come in.
Okay, excellent suggestion, we can take that as an action item, please.
Can I just say something too that might help this process? Because we regurgitate a lot of the same items I've heard in the meetings. Maybe we could have a FAQ page, frequently asked questions, and have the question and the answer, and at least that would be a reference guide for those that are just maybe coming to the meeting for the first time. And it would be educational, just suggesting that.
All right, so can we move on? Just
Please.
real quick. So approval of minutes from April 25th and May 3rd.
I move that we approve the minutes of April 25th as submitted with no corrections.
I second that.
So the motion to approve the minutes, everyone in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstention? Right, so the motion passed. All right, so on to the next unfinished business, the pool area.
Oh, we got more minutes.
Oh, so the executive,
3 sets of minutes.
Yep. So I move that we approve the minutes of May 3rd with the following corrections. And the first one is actually a question. On Roman numeral 5, it says, is Greg Douglas? Yeah, Greg Douglas. So this is a question for you. It says in the draft minutes, and I want to see if this is true. This is not quite my recollection, so I'm asking you if this is true, what it says here. It says, Greg Douglas will have a report soon for the board. I didn't think that that's something that you had said. In the minutes, the draft minutes that were being...
I'll have a presentation.
A presentation? Okay, so if we change it to say, Greg Douglas will have a presentation soon for the board, is that a true statement?
Yeah.
Okay, so my motion is that we change that word to presentation. Thank you, Greg.
Do we have a copy of the minutes?
Yeah, I gave you 1 week. I gave you 1 week. When I think you're talking about the last meeting.
So, hold on, we're on approval of minutes, and I just want to make sure we're approving the minutes properly. So, where it said report, it would be presentation. Roman numeral 8, there's just a typo on the word recovery.
Okay. Thank you.
Roman numeral 9D, the motion was made by me and seconded by Director Roush, Mark Roush. Tell me when you're ready.
Ready?
Roman numeral 11, end of mortgage party. It says tabled, which I think implies that the event has been tabled. It was the agenda item that was tabled. The event is still scheduled for October 27. And yes, I'm looking forward to our end of mortgage party. So I would say agenda item tabled, rather than just simply say tabled.
Okay.
A couple more quick corrections. Roman numeral 12, it says there will be 139 new homes. That wasn't quite stated. There will be about 139 new homes. 2 more quick corrections. Roman numeral 14 says a hiring freeze. It was a 17-day hiring freeze, if we could clarify that, 17-day hiring freeze. And Roman numeral 15, the word council, it's the wrong council, it should be SEL. So subject to those corrections, I move that we approve the minutes of May 3rd.
I second that motion.
motion to approve May 3rd minutes. Everyone in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Any abstain? Motion pass. Or motion carries. All right. The third one?
Hey, Bruce, quick question. Is it appropriate to review and approve executive minutes in open session?
Executive meeting generally noted.
Would it be better for us to wait till?
So long as the minutes, I'm just trying to think, the minutes are not, they're not a public document. So the board can approve them in open meeting, but they're not a document that goes to the membership in general.
Understand. So my question is it appropriate for us to approve them here in open, or is it better to wait?
You can approve
Okay.
them if you want.
So let's just go ahead and
Okay. Would anyone else like to make a motion?
make a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion that we should approve the executive meetings.
I second.
Second? Oh, you can second.
I second it. So,
The executive meeting minutes of May the 3rd?
yes,
Yeah.
Without correction?
Yes.
there's no
yeah.
corrections.
Yeah. And he said,
So the motion to approve the meeting, everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, so on to unfinished business. The pool area fixing, do you have any?
On this item, I'd like to make a motion that we open the pool gates on the same summer schedule that we had last summer. It was requested by one of our members, and I think it's a reasonable request. And since Jane's here, I'd like to ask, is there any concern or any reason that we ought not to have the gates open at the same schedule, which included 7 a.m. on weekends?
7 a.m., the pool
Six.
starts open at 6:30 in the morning. The pool gates are open at 6:30 in the morning.
Even on weekends?
No, on the weekends it's 8.
So the request is only about weekends?
Well, then I would just have to change, I'd have to go through and change the schedule and have someone come in earlier. So then the opening person would have to be here an hour earlier.
Is that a concern?
Just an extra hour of employee, just an extra hour of someone
Okay.
for our table.
Okay. Then I'd like to make a motion that we open the gates this summer on the weekends at 7 a.m.
Starting Memorial Day weekend? Just
Uh,
from Memorial Day
yes.
weekend to Labor Day weekend?
Yes, Memorial Day weekend to Labor Day weekend.
I second it.
so third.
So motion to open the pool area. Sorry,
Which one seconded, I'm sorry?
go ahead.
Amar seconded. Did I second it? I thirded it.
I'm kind of confused because we have a lot of damage to that pool, so why are we doing this without dealing with the Gordian thing first?
Agenda 1 says pool. I want to talk about the pool.
Well, pool area, but I would assume that
Take the
would
vote first.
include
So,
the pool.
so we can talk about that, but can we finish this? So motion to open the pool on the weekends at 7 a.m. Everyone
In favor, say
in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Just the weekends, yes.
Well, it's earlier weekdays.
By an hour.
It's already early.
Yes. All right, so can we take that question?
Agenda item is
I'll put it on the agenda.
Pools,
for
right.
next week.
So can we talk anything about the pool repair? So open discussion on the pool repair?
Sure.
So is there, where are we with
I
the-
didn't put that on.
Yeah. Have we actually started any dialogue and conversations about the time frame that we're gonna actually start looking at getting that fixed instead of a Band-Aid and
We-
wasting money to
We-
do that?
We've
when
already
it needs to be
started.
fixed?
We've already started, and Craig's plan from last week addresses that. It's not a Band-Aid, it's a plan, and then it goes to a full reconstruction as we have the time after the summer.
So why
But-
are we wasting our money, Mark?
On
Why are
what?
we doing that? It costs money to do those things, and they can't find anybody currently to do it, so why are we doing that with the little?
No, but that's not correct. That's not correct. There were at least one or two that Jane spoke to who said that they could do it.
Yeah, I'll have a proposal tomorrow.
She's going to have a proposal tomorrow. Coincidentally, a couple of nights ago, I put a call in myself, on my own volition, to another company, and I had the guy come out yesterday, and we walked around, and he didn't give me any information that said that it couldn't be done, right, so that the pools could be opened, and I just did it because I wanted to know, I wanted to have more information, my own research. And so we are moving forward with that. The question is a full reconstruction really necessary? And that is going to take more investigation. But the pressing problem is to have the pools open, not to have the pools closed.
So this is our opportunity to go through this. We've got other things to address. I see some hands. It's going to be your call whether you take questions, but open forum's closed. But we can take questions as you see fit as president.
Right, so I saw a couple of hands, so maybe we can take those questions, so you then. Yeah.
Okay, my question is, what would be the process? I've worked construction all my life, so I want to know what process they would use to repair that. Because often not, when you put a surface over a subsurface, it generally doesn't work.
The person that I spoke to, so I'm going to only talk about my reference, and I have never been in construction, so I have absolutely no idea about any of this stuff. But he described taking off the layers by using very, very high pressure, water pressure things. And then in some cases possibly scraping it down, and then putting a cover over it, and then tinting it. The information that I received was that it's not a permanent fix, that it probably will be 3 to 5 years. I think that Craig's proposal that he made last week, his plan, talks about that. And so I would think that that's probably the same thing Jane received. And then, last night I did have a little communication with Todd, who asked if anybody had photos. I happened to have some photos. I sent him because he thought that he also knew somebody that he could get some information from. So I think that our understanding, and even me with my very limited knowledge, is consistent with what you're saying. But the object is to get the pool open, right? To have it open for the summer.
What's the cost?
You know, nobody's gotten back to us yet.
I thought Jane had some.
Tomorrow.
Our proposal will be given to you tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen any numbers just yet.
I think Todd had his hand up too. Oh, I'm sorry.
Todd, sorry, did you finish?
No, no, good.
Todd,
So what you're talking about is called water jetting by using high pressure water. The problem with that is that you already have delamination all over your concrete. When that water jet starts getting through it and hitting the clay, you're going to create a whole mess around it. So by doing that, you're actually going to make it worse probably in the long run. So my question is this: if I can get the 3 largest in the area concrete manufacturers and layers to agree by next week that the only real way to get that done is to remove it, will we be past the investigation? Would that prove without a doubt that the only way to really do it right is to remove it and replace it?
I don't think that that's a question. I think everybody is in agreement that the concrete has to be redone. The question is getting something done so that the pool can be open for the summer.
But if it damages, Mark, if it damages what we have existing, why are we gonna do that? Why are we gonna add insult to injury?
Rachel, it's not a question of insult to injury. So either the pool gets open or it gets shut down.
It gets shut down until we can get it fixed.
What if you did it in phases where there's one pool shut down?
Well, I would think that that's what would happen.
That's what the proposal from.
I would think that that's what would happen.
I believe it was.
I don't think you could even consider shutting the pool down.
So if we're all in agreement on that, what is the holdup?
My guy said the guy I spoke to yesterday wasn't gonna have some prices for me.
So what I'm saying is, instead of going with that Band-Aid, why don't we go right into the construction and getting it done? Because I found out.
Proper residents, proper notices to the
Hold up,
residents right here.
hold up.
They need to know that they're gonna have construction going on 24/7 outside their back door.
That's why we need to get it going.
We need to have time for that.
Jerry, when would you like to do it?
two birds.
It was done in the winter, and this is what.
Nobody even knew about it until
Excuse me.
like a month ago.
Nobody knew the
Thanks
pool
to your
Todd,
board
Todd,
buddies.
two little birds said to me, not my dogs, two little birds, said to me within the last 10 days that they knew of plans, they had bids from other people that would be presented to me, and I say, good, let me see them. Now, one of the birds was you.
I have them right here.
Right, okay. Good, but until now, you haven't presented it, right? So in the question of, well, what are you waiting for? It's like, I wasn't waiting for anything. I was waiting.
But
I
you
mean, I was
mentioned
waiting-
earlier that we still in discussions and all that. I'm trying to get us past that part into, hold on, let me finish now. I want to get into that part where we start talking about the contract and making that the priority, where we can sit down. And I can say, hey, Mark, here it is.
But we do too, but you haven't given it to me yet. Give it to me. Bring it up to me.
Well,
I'll come over there and get it from you.
This is the first time, last time we couldn't talk about the pool, or we didn't talk about this.
No, but you were supposed to give it to me privately, right, on the QT.
I can text it to you right now. I can text it to you right now. But again, what does that do if we can't sit down and get past the fact that you're still looking for a Band-Aid, obviously? And that's what I'm trying to get past.
But because the two people who told me that there were these plans haven't so far showed me what those plans are. So I couldn't therefore come today to say, my gosh, we have it. Now, if you have the thing, so I'll look
So
at it.
next week, when you have everything, then we're gonna move on.
I vote to do it now. Bring the crew in now. Why wait till next week? But I don't have the
Can somebody
paper.
second that? Second that?
I think other
We need to, yeah, last one question. and then-
Yeah, going back to
There's a
your
question. So,
Rachel, you told me you'd seen bids, and you told me you would email me copies. I'm still waiting for it from you. If
And I'm
somebody
waiting-
has these other bids, where are they?
Yeah.
The board has.
I don't have it.
We've asked for them.
We don't have it.
John,
I don't have
get
it.
those for us.
I don't have any bids.
Craig's got them.
Okay, so now.
They were last April.
And my understanding is you have two, and you haven't produced them either.
I've got
So why don't you produce them?
Who's asked?
Calm down.
Okay, guys.
Everybody asked in the March 8th
It's okay.
meeting. Like, I have a different question.
Please, Rachel.
Okay.
Stop that right now.
Craig should have a copy. They were in April. We all have heard.
Okay, so, my question is, it's kind of a question. So my question is, I know we have heard about different things, so I'm just going based on that. So assuming that if it is 1.17 or certain million, do we have the reserve to fix that with the current money we have, without taking the dues from the future dues of the owners currently? Do we have the money for that now?
No. CFO.
Excellent question. He's asking about the dollars. For the past maybe 10 minutes, we've been talking about specifics on construction. This gentleman has some expertise in construction. Todd also has some expertise in construction. A lot of people in the room have expertise in the various areas of finance as well. Wouldn't it make sense, wouldn't it make a lot of sense for us to talk to the people who do all these other pools for all these other places
No,
and ask them?
no, we're not gonna continue
Keep dragging
that,
it
no.
on.
No.
So, Whitney Ranch Rock, Four Seasons,
Craig,
Gold River, Natomas Park, Granite Bay, many of them have pools. Many of them have problems with their pools from time to time. Surely they all have people that do the construction in their pools. Surely this is not a brand new issue. Hopefully it's not a brand new issue for them. Wouldn't it make a lot of sense for us to talk to the companies who are responsible for this, who have been managing these pools for 5, 10, 15, 20, however many years?
After we get it fixed.
Allow me. Wouldn't it make sense? We have a problem right now with our pools. We're all very familiar with the problem. I hear Mark talking to folks, I hear Todd, got some ideas, I hear this gentleman, I'm sorry I don't know your name, has some ideas as well. I imagine many of us in the room have other ideas, and their cousin that runs a construction company too. Wouldn't it make sense for us to talk to the people who know what they're talking about, and then bring in these others, bring Todd into the conversation, bring this gentleman into the conversation, bring somebody's cousin who does something like this for a career, bring them into the conversation with the knowledge that's
Why?
on this table.
Why?
Craig, you're talking
Okay,
apples and
so,
oranges.
Yeah.
Craig, I would like to go to my second part of the question also. So I'm assuming that we don't have the funds right now to fix the problem.
I would not
And-
assume that. I would not assume
I'm-
that. We
I'm
don't,
just-
we don't
okay.
know, we haven't
Okay,
gotten
we don't
bids,
know
we
yet.
don't know
Yeah, we
costs
don't
yet.
know the amounts
Whatever
and
the
we don't
cost
know
comes
yet.
back, we
Yeah,
can look at what
so
we
that's
have.
why I'm coming to the second portion, because I also heard that there are certain money which would come to us at a later stage, based on couple of settlements that was done. So, and there was also a survey done saying that which are the top priority items, but those priorities were not weighted against each other. So one of the priority was reducing the dues once the mortgage is paid off. So I would like to see another survey done with all the members on whether we reducing the dues or fixing these problems right now or fixing it at a later stage. What is the majority of the community thinks, rather than what few members of the community. It may be a majority, but I would see that being done before making a decision on this 1+ million deal, and also look at different options rather than just going by word. There are proposals, but none of us had seen that. That's my
That's a
take.
great idea, great idea.
Yeah.
All right. Let me put some clarity on this, because I was on the defect committee for quite a few months.
Thank you, John.
As chief financial officer, have you reached out to NJPA to see what their assessments are?
Why don't you explain who NGPA is?
NJPA, do you know who that is?
Yes, I do.
And we're a member of that. NGPA is a non-profit lottery of people that work with nothing but non-profit. What they do is they go out to contractors and they've got a buying power. That's how we get the cheap, reduced price to fix everything.
Like a Costco.
It's, think of this as you got a house in Big Bear and there's a 5,000 unit complex down the street. You need a new roof, they need a new roof. Who do you think is going to get the better deal? 5,000 homeowners. So that's what this is. It's a nationwide lottery of huge nonprofit organizations. And we, the last board, joined this association so that we could get this extended power. They offer all kinds of expertise, construction being one of them. That's the reason we got I contacted Gordian, had Gordian come out. Staples is their contractor at choice. Through multiple bid processing, that's what they do. So that's how we came up with the 1.17 million to fix up everything south of the fence. That means everything. So it's just concrete, arbors, barbecues, everything. Get it back up to the standards that we expect as homeowners in the association. So that's how it came about. And that's what we've got extra buying power through this National Joint Power Authority that we can do. They take maintenance contracts. They'll write a maintenance contract for fourth the price of any other maintenance contract. So there's interior design. Whatever we want them to do, that's who we contact. But if we're not utilizing them, then we're wasting our money. So we can call the contractors in the neighborhood and get one. We've got several bids on doing the concrete work, and it's $300,000 just for the concrete work, minimum.
Is that going up?
Oh, it's went up 10% since we closed, stymied the deal on March 8th.
I believe.
It's went up at least 10% since then.
If I remember correctly, the events that took place was that we had a meeting on March 8th when the people in the audience asked again and again and again and again for information. The information was never presented. If the information was there, it could have been presented. I'm critical that Craig doesn't have the information right now to say where that $175,000 went. I was critical that night on March 8th because the same reason. It's like, if you have this information, show it to us. If you have the plan, let's see the plan. Let's see it. If it's not here, if it's upstairs in the locked cabinets, go get it. And if it's not there, or if you have it, but we don't have enough copies for everybody, so then say, oh, you know what, tomorrow by noon, we'll have enough copies over here at the front desk. that everybody could come by and get them. But we never got that information. It was never presented. And the thing that was, the only motion of that evening that was passed was that the information would be provided to us. And it would be provided to us within several days before the next meeting, so we could all come well informed. Well, that didn't happen. What happened was that we had this thing called the town hall meeting when people came and presented. But they didn't, again, we came in cold. We didn't come in armed with information so that, Rachel, you could ask great questions, as you do, and Pat and Andy and Pam and Everett, of course. But we didn't have that, so we couldn't do that information. Now, I have to tell you that in my business, the business that I know, that when I have been confronted over the last 45 years with people who say that there are these national organizations who do buying and they can get better prices, that has never, ever been the case in my business.
Then you don't know the construction.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know the construction. I don't, John, I don't. There's no doubt. I don't. But I dealt with companies that had $100 million advertising budgets, and we were approached all the time by people all around the country, not only the United States, but companies out of England, who would tell us about how great they could buy and how much money they could save. And every single time we beat them. Now, I always said, the deal that might have been, made might be a good deal. I always said it might be a good deal, it might be a great deal, it might be the best deal ever made. But we need to see it.
Yes.
And we need to see the combination. Now, so I still say the same thing, and it might be. And we might, we'll be here a month from today, we're going to say, you know what? That was the best deal. Man, it's unbelievable. What a deal. But but to know that it's a good deal, you got to know it's a good deal. And the only way you know it's a good deal is if you do some competitive bidding. Now, what I have heard in the numbers that I've heard about these other competitive bids is that, well, it only had to do with the concrete, not with all the ancillary stuff. And the numbers were something in the area of $250,000. That may be untrue, I don't know. But, so I say $250,000 or $1.1 million. Woo, that's a big jump. And if somebody said to me,
That's only the concrete.
sorry?
That's only the concrete.
Only the concrete, yes, right. So what's the rest of the stuff? Well, fix a light bulb, fix a thing, fix a dog. Some plumbing.
There's stuff that has to be replaced on top of the concrete when it gets demolished.
Excuse me, Mark.
Yeah.
I was going through the contract today because I was looking for something specific. Number one of the things that the previous board had stated was that we had to bring these pools ADA compliant. I called and spoke with Brandon at City Hall at Rancho Cordova, and we do not have to bring these pools ADA compliant. This is not a public pool. You only have to meet those requirements if we're open to the public, and that's per the building inspector here. His name is Brandon on it.
You talked to the commercial building inspector.
I did. They had, I think his name was Steve. There was two of them online. Please call, because that's what I was told. But more importantly, when I was going through that contract today, we talked ad nauseum about the need to replace this concrete. We're all in agreement this concrete needs to be placed. But I also discovered when I went through there today, and we haven't talked about it, the lap pool has a leak in it. That's serious. Because if that water is leaking underground, it can undermine that clay, it can do a whole lot of other damage. That needs to be dealt with. That's equally, if not more important than the concrete. Staples indicated that there's a problem with the spa up here. We don't know what that is. If it's an electrical issue and that spa is being used, that's a huge liability. So there's a lot more to that contract than just what was there.
I
And the
understand
things
that.
that we need to be talking about.
Right, I understand that, but you know what you just said, and I'm gonna steal something that I think Craig would have said, and that is, thank you for saying that, because the information that you gave us.
Yes, I would have said that.
Is very good and helpful, and it is. I mean, you know, you gave two good sides, which was, you said, we don't have to be ADA,
Yeah,
and then you said the other thing that, hey, maybe there's even more problems with the other stuff.
exactly.
You know, it's funny, when this was all happening, you know, like back in March and stuff, I happened to come down one day, and I see a family in the hot tub over here, and I'm thinking, but I thought it was broken, and I thought something was wrong, and I thought it was dangerous. And they were having a good time, so, and nobody was running out there to tell them, you know, you're gonna die in a second of shock, or something like that. So again, I say, I've been, you know, waiting for somebody to say it. So here's the papers that John is gonna provide, you know, Todd was gonna provide to me, and so on and so forth. And so we can look at it.
Do you have anything to add? So can we do this? So can we take the quotes that you're going to receive, and then you're going to receive a quote, and John, you guys obviously have done some groundwork, so if there is a quote, can we also look at all that and compare and come up with a solution? Does that sound fair?
Can you ask the lawyer about the legality of opening up or having everybody look at bids before anything that's out in the open? Because I know there's certain requirements because of bid processes. And I don't know how that works with the private versus public.
As a general rule, proposals and bids are not a member document. And recall that ultimately, it's a corporate board decision, it's not a member decision, so.
No, I'm not asking for a
What if we take the
decision. All I'm
pricing off
saying
and just
is,
see what
we
they're
are
fixing?
receiving, and we can.
You can receive, absolutely, you can bring those in. I mean, there's a lot of factors you gotta weigh, and this is, because this is contract formations, I will also discuss some of this in executive session.
Right.
Because that's what the law specifically discusses.
I just want to see as many bids as possible so that we can make an informed decision.
Just to let you know, that what John, the bids that John would have and bring, it's gonna be apples and oranges to what I have. Because
Yeah.
my proposals are not the whole contract picture. It's just fixing the food service.
But we gotta start somewhere, and like,
Yeah.
you know, start talking about it.
Mhm.
So maybe this will be a good start. So again, to Mark's point, earlier, you know, we asked, but actually we didn't see any documents. So now at least we have about 2 plus 1 plus 4 to compare with.
Can I add one point to that?
Yes, please.
So when this discussion came up, this information, and John, thank you for like providing and then giving this company, and because now we all know what it went down, and then we can look at and like know from our side.
And I think you got the scope of work, right?
Yeah, and once we got that information, we also got a different conflict information that we don't need to be ADA compliant, and whatever is the cost for that may not be included. And probably the board or the homeowners does not have the expertise to make that decision. So in that case, I would say it's better we go to a company that has that expertise, and then I bring it to like what Craig was saying, it's better we go that route, because it's not up to, we cannot go with, okay, 5 people are saying that, so we need to go for that, and the other 10 people might say differently.
These are construction workers
so
that have spent their whole life doing
Right,
it.
Rachel. So the way I would say is, this is the first step, is to get the contracts. The way we usually, get the bids. And then we will put out the questionnaire, right? And we will evaluate them based on all these criteria, right? And then we can come up, you know, move the process along. Yes. You have.
Yeah, so can we get some dates to when we're gonna talk about these bids, so people have deadlines, so we know when we're gonna hear
Right.
about the various amount of information
Next
that's
week.
coming in? Can we get some hard dates?
I'm not sure if by next week is
Right, 2 or 3
enough
weeks from now, like
time,
just
so.
dates for people.
I'll give, I've got you Jane tomorrow.
It sounds like we're still getting apples and oranges mixed together, because when you go out to request for a bid, you have to have criteria laid out so they're responding all to the same thing.
She's right. You're right. You're right.
And
There's a whole different thing.
Exactly.
I got 2 bids just for concrete work, and then I've got the bid for the whole scope, everything south of the fence. So you can't compare them.
Exactly.
John, if I may ask, you don't need to answer, but this has been something which has been like the question going around. You clearly said that the 1.17 is for fixing everything to that side, and there was also another part of it which was the settlement that was done.
Yeah.
So would you have that information on out of that 1.17, how much is the amount that would cover for the fixing the problem that was there?
You would have to talk to Adam about that because he's in charge of all the financials now.
I'm not talking about the settlement, but in that if we are able to separate the fixing of the problems and then which was part of the litigation, and then everything else, how much is the difference? Is it 400 for fixing and then rest?
I understand.
If you have that information.
So maybe we can have, offline conversations because we still have to go through the agenda item. So I saw like you and you real quick, then we'll move on, please.
Well, I came to the meeting tonight because of pools. My wife asked me to come down here to address the elephant on the wall. Is she going to be able to swim this year? A simple question. Can I bring my grandkids out here to swim?
The pool's open.
It's open right now.
That's all I'm asking.
It all comes down to one thing, and this may be all a moot point. If we don't have the money, it doesn't matter. It could cost $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. If the financials aren't there and we don't have it, we may have to use a Band-Aid for a temporary fix before we can acquire the funds to move on to a more permanent fix. Because it's a moot point of it.
Right, you're absolutely right.
Okay. The swimming pool, the clubhouse, all of our parks that are in this neighborhood, that's what makes our property values. If you put your house up for sale and they come down to look at the pool and there's holes here and there's holes there and the fountain's broken and the hot tubs doesn't work, the property value of your home has probably gone down $10,000. And if you take $1 million or $10 million and you divide it by 2,000 homes, what is that? Maybe $5,000 a household? I don't know what that is. If you take the million, 1,000,000.17, that's like $5,000 a household. If that pool is totally redone and beautiful and the fountain is better and the hot tubs work and the barbecues work and people are proud to bring their families down and proud to have parties and can brag about it, we are the laughing stock of all the other neighborhoods because they don't have pools and they're jealous of us because we have a pool and they don't. But our pool looks like shit.
It's less than $600.
So here's what.
What is it?
It's less than 600. It's 587.5
Per person? Per
household? Per house.
I mean, to me, it's like, duh, really? We have $400,000 from the lawsuit, and then supposedly there's another.
There's no issue that we don't have the money.
So here's
No,
what.
we do have the money.
Right. So here's what I would still propose, that we collect all the bids, let the CFO figure out if we have the money to either go the full Monty or whether we go piecemeal, right? So that's what I would suggest. So
No promises?
It's already been 2 months. We have.
No promises, there we go.
He's going to make the assessment if we have the money, okay? And based on his assessment, because we all said, when I was there, we all said, we are not going to go with the line of credit or loans, right?
Yes. No, we wanted to see the bids. We weren't saying, Mayor, that we were gonna.
We also said that we are not going to go with the line of credit or loans.
Everybody said we want to.
Everybody said that. Huh? Right. So if we don't have the money to pay for it, then we cannot, we should probably put a Band-Aid on it.
Why can't
we should close everything down?
Assessment for $500.
I want to add one more point. See, the main reason why we are here right now is because the proper maintenance was not done, or it was not done properly. So we should also look at making sure that we have a company and we have a process to make sure that the maintenance can be done properly. I don't want to spend $600 now and 2 years down the line, we have the same situation. So it doesn't matter whether we fix it or not, we also need to make sure that the process is going forward to maintain it properly.
Absolutely.
So,
Can we put this in the parking lot and come back next week? Can we get a date, Amir, of when, Craig, can you give us a date to get back to us on this?
I would like this to be a more public process, not 3 people going off into a dark closet.
No, we're
and
talking
coming
about
back.
the-
I'd like this to be a public process where everyone who would like to be involved in this decision has an opportunity to come and talk about it.
They could have been at this meeting just like we were. The fact is that I'm asking you for a date of when you can get back to us with the information that was requested. That's not that hard of a thing.
So the information that I believe I heard Amar saying was, after the bids are in, he would like me to look and see if there's enough money. So after the bids come in, which we don't have a date on, of course I will look at that. And I want to have an open process to share with everyone. So I can't give you a fixed date because the prerequisites aren't.
Bid proposals, when you're doing a request for proposal, you give a deadline. Any grant you write, anything you do when it comes to bidding,
So let's talk
you give a
about setting
date.
that. Let's talk about setting that.
Well, Bruce already said you can't share that information. I mean, did he not say that you can't share, it? That's not public information?
The bids.
The bids themselves. So other than just letting everyone in the community know, we need something done to the pool, it's on the board, it's the board's responsibility to make the determination based on the bids that's presented. So I think everyone, a lot of people in the community are aware that we have a problem with that pool. So is it that difficult? I mean, obviously we need a timetable, getting the bids that you received and James received, so that you have an opportunity to go through. Can't we put a date on the calendar at least? I mean, it's already cost us 10% on the bid for 1.1 million because concrete's going up. We look around us, all these houses going in, every time a new development goes in, the price of concrete goes up. I'm not in concrete, okay? But I am in finance, and when I look at finance, this is something for any construction project, you always have a line of credit or you take out a loan. So if we're not going to take out a loan, we should have a line of credit so that we can at least get this done. We're splitting our head. Do we need to get the pool done? I just heard someone say that the pool is leaking. So that's an emergency. The spa, potentially somebody could get shocked. Are we going to wait till someone gets shocked and then it becomes a sense of urgency then? I mean, yes, we can talk about it, absolutely. We needed to put a spot of light on this. We needed to see what's going on. But if I'm correct, Bruce said that you can't show us the bids. So what are we doing?
Is it that they can't or don't have a responsibility?
Can we see the bids, Bruce? Can we just open them up and everybody make a decision on
As
it?
a practical matter, bidders may be reluctant to submit a bid if they know that they're flat out sharing with their competition the details of their bid. So this is not under public contracting law. This is just a private corporate matter. Having said that, the board can certainly present, apples to apples type discussion as part of a bigger issue in terms of the overall expenditures and the scale and scope of what's being proposed.
So that's an excellent point that Bruce makes. He raised an excellent question. He has an excellent answer. What I would like to do, if we get bids in, I would like to share information that's not going to upset bidders in terms of competitive information, so we're not crossing any lines there. But make it an open public decision. Say, here are the 3 bids that we got, or the 4. Hopefully not 2 or less, but here are the bids that we got. Here's the difference in scope. Here's some information about cost. Here's some information about whether we can afford it, and be able to have a reasonable conversation with all of us who are on the hook to pay.
And that's why the old board got asked to leave, was because we didn't share information.
That's what I'm saying.
Now you're saying you're not going to share it because it's not.
That's the opposite of what I just said.
I'm telling you, John, I'm telling you, any information I find out,
It goes to everybody in this community.
Yeah.
I am not holding a piece of information.
And that's the reason I passed out the scope of work.
And I'm not doing it. And I'm going to tell you something else. That this is not a public situation. These are our partners. We are partners. The partners are entitled to know the information. If we get bids and somebody doesn't like it, that is going to give us the bid, that we're going to share it, well, then too bad for them. The information has to be known by the people. We have to know that. It's very important, and it's got to be set that way forever, that information should be shared. I'm not talking about social security numbers and that kind of stuff, but information so that everybody knows, so we can say. So, and what you're saying is about, and then we put this thing together, and I'm going to say, look, here's how the money would work out, and here's, we're going to have a line. A line of credit is a loan because it turns into the loan, right?
Somebody has
Right,
to pay
right,
for it.
but that's right, so you take a line of credit
Of course
and
we're
you
gonna
use that
pay for
as a
it.
loan.
We're not gonna do any maintenance? We're not gonna fix our pool?
No,
I mean,
no.
that's why we, I mean,
Right, no, we
the
have
money's
money.
not there.
Can I
If
make
you
a
look at the
suggestion?
budget, the money's not there.
What if we go to Lennar and ask Lennar to pitch in? Lennar's trying to sell all these new homes back there.
You know what I
They're
said?
killing it.
Guess what?
This guy's embarrassed as he's walking people back there. What if we go to Lennar and ask Lennar?
Listen, you tell that guy from, that guy who says he's embarrassed. Excuse my language. I said, John will confirm this. I said to you, he said the same thing to me.
Can we get that in the minutes?
It's my video. It's my video. I'm the editor.
That's right.
What I said to Uni, and John will confirm this, what I said to Uni was, Uni said that. And I said, she said, the Lennar guy was very upset. And because
Let's listen to what he's saying.
it looks really bad. And so I said to Uni, you know what I would have done? I would have said to them, every day at 3 o'clock, have your workers stop working and have them come over here to fix whatever needs to be done. Because it's up to you, because you should have an unbelievable place to sell your houses. So you guys come, and every day at 3 o'clock, you come and fix what needs to be done.
Well, there's an.
So has anybody talked to them though?
No, you know what
Has
Uni
that
said
not
to me
worked?
was, well, the guy never really said that.
Okay, can somebody here talk to Lennar now?
Well, okay. Okay. Yeah, I like that.
Question.
I'll.
You'll do that.
Yeah.
So we really have, sorry, last
I'll
question.
just be brief. That might be a very lucrative thing to talk to Lennar, and maybe they would also pony up some money.
Yeah, tell them they can put their sign out there.
Yeah.
You pay for it all, you can put your sign out there.
Yeah, and you can use our building that you've been using for free.
Okay.
Okay.
So, number
Election
2,
options.
election options.
So folks, this is an important topic that I think people are going to really want to hear about. And I see Adam's hand. You may want to recognize, the president will make the decision, but would you like to recognize Adam?
Yes, please.
I was hopeful that I could. I spoke with Eve from Helsing Group, the group that is engaged to provide the Inspector of Election Services for our upcoming election. One of the pieces of information that she needs from the board is a date of record. The date of record is the date at which the members who own at that date are eligible to vote for this election. She's proposing a date of July 5th for the date of record. And I'm asking for the board to have a motion so that we can give her that to proceed.
I hear that. July 5th is almost 2 months away. I think we're hearing a lot of people here who want this quick. What can we do to accelerate this? Can we have it sooner than that?
The record date is not something that we have to wait to get to. And in fact, the process can begin, and I think is intended to begin immediately. She needs that as a cutoff date to know, from a mailing address standpoint, this is my official deadline. So think of it more like 30 days before the November election, you have to be a citizen of California to vote in a California election. But the election process has been moving along all year long, getting up to that.
So how soon can we have this election?
they're starting the process, so they already kind of started the process. I gave them the mailing list, they're working on the list now. They anticipate, assuming the board adopts this record date of July 5th, they anticipate sending out the call for candidates by about the 21st, but she's giving herself some extra
21st of
May.
Of May.
That gives herself a little extra time. She's hoping to get it out next week. And then
So Mark, do you want to talk
30
about
days.
other ideas you might have in mind that
Yeah.
might help accelerate this? Because we want this fast, right? If I show of hands, fast? Okay, fast.
Some weeks ago, I did a little bit of investigation, and we found that my reading of the Sterling Davis Act is that we don't need anybody fancy to be the superintendent, the inspector. As I said the other night in executive meeting, we could get somebody from Raley's, and they could be, as long as they swear that they're independent and not getting anything out of it, they could be the supervisor, the inspector. Do you agree with that?
I'm just going to listen,
Okay.
Harry.
All right.
There will be a question for Bruce shortly.
And so in looking for that, I came across the information about the League of Women Voters being able to be instrumental in this, and that the League of Women Voters does do community things. They don't do just national elections. And so I thought that the good side of that is that it's not quite a person from Raley's who you really could trust, but but it was somebody pretty good, right, from the League of Women Voters. And as it turns out, we do have a couple of people in the community that are on the local group and so on and so forth. And so, was that you, Pat, or Pam, who, oh, it must have been Pam then, who was spearheading the talking to a fellow named John, maybe John Thompson? And, but that looked like a possibility of helping to move things along. Now, the question came up that we have this contract with Helsing, and that there might be the old penalty to pay because we're canceling the contract. I haven't seen the contract. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what the penalty is. If there was any way, do you know what the penalty is, Bruce? Is there a penalty? Or maybe there isn't.
I don't know if there's a...
Canceling their deal and getting away from using them.
For the purpose of engaging someone else, for the purpose of doing this faster so that we can get the election sooner.
Right.
Now we're spending money.
Impossible to go faster. I can't.
Can you speak that louder?
I can't imagine any possible scenario in which the election can go any faster, because the association's a rule process for, we got to give people 30 days to figure out they want to be a candidate. And then when we have the candidates, we have a whole process that has to go through. It's kind of like you just simply can't rush particularly delegate voting. In a traditional association, sure, you can speed it along a lot quicker, but Anatolia is one of a handful of associations in the Sacramento region that use delegate voting, and there is a brutal do not pass go, do not collect $200 shortcut process. You cannot expedite it.
So is there an opportunity for us to update our bylaws to get out of that obsolete, or all the words you just said, process in order to expedite the elections? Is that an opportunity that we have? I'm looking for creative ways to get to this election faster.
They would end up being a draw, because assuming for sake of discussion, well, here's the stupid part. Let me rephrase that. Your bylaws can only be amended via the delegate voting process. How's that for? See, so welcome to the catch-22. We have a slow process, and we have to use a slow process to get rid of the slow process.
So it sounds like what I'm hearing, we're asking lots of, as creative as we can be about coming to this question of how can we accelerate the election. It sounds like no matter how we're looking at this, if I'm hearing you correctly, we're stuck with the legacy bylaws that were imposed by the developer and that are not desired by anyone, any of the members of the association, certainly none that I've spoken to, that we're now stuck with this, at least for this election, until maybe in the future. We have a bylaws committee that just got started that will be able to look at this problem. But it sounds like, if I'm understanding you correctly, we're stuck right now for this coming election, that we cannot accelerate it anyway. Is there any way we can accelerate this?
No.
Well, if it is a delegate, the board can appoint the delegates, right? That's what I heard in one of the previous meetings.
Yes, they can.
But the process requires a delegate election, so in an interim process, we could appoint. The problem is we're up for that election process. So for sake of discussion, if we could appoint delegates, we would still be doing a mailing ballots to the members to have them cast them to the delegates. So we can't even shortcut that. So that's, we're on a process. And it's also, keep in mind, some of this timeline is, there's a 30-day period for campaigning. There's 30 days to decide who wants to run. We don't want to do a 2-day, get your nomination in, you have 48 hours. And then 48 hours later, we're going to send out ballots. That would not be a transparent, open election process. This process, as slow as it is, was done so that 2,000 people would all know, okay, I want to throw my hat in the ring. And once we know who the candidates are, they get 30 days to say, vote for me. And then we go through the process. So in this process, we have 60 days built in to make sure we're not ambushing anybody or closing the door on the opportunity or the opportunity to be heard. So I really want to be clear that it sounds like, well, we're just taking our sweet time. No, we're trying to be very open in a process that can't be hijacked or manipulated.
60 days is certainly better than November, but hold on a second. But the other thing is that I think we might want to use the same time wisely to do some new bylaws. And we will need the election, right, to do bylaw changes. And so the downside is if we have to wait 60 days, but the positive side is that we have a little bit of time to start working new bylaws. And we should change bylaws. There's a lot of bylaws that should get changed. And we should use the election to do that.
So in relation to the bylaws, can appointed delegates vote on the bylaws to make that proceed? So could we appoint delegates to move forward with bylaws?
It's a question for Bruce.
Yeah.
Bruce,
Could we appoint delegates to be able to move forward with bylaw changes, not necessarily for the elections?
As a practical matter, I was just looking at the timeline. It would make more sense to try to fold in to the existing process because there's an element of, well, why would we send out ballots in the middle of an election cycle? It's why, there's a primary and there's a November. We only do elections typically twice a year. And so I would be reluctant to want to go down that path.
Okay. That's
With the dates we had heard.
Moving forward, I absolutely would want the timelines to be posted on the website, so they're for transparency.
All right. Can we set the record date?
Well, I think that's what he's saying. We don't have it.
So we need. Can we come out and have a motion to set a record date?
So your suggestion was July 5th?
Eva's requesting July 5th as being the earliest date that she can make the timeline work smoothly. She wants it to be proper.
Right, so what I understand is the record date is like things can go in parallel, right?
Yes.
So it doesn't, so July 5th is probably, as good as like June 30th, right?
I think she had a technical concern about going that early. But she'll start the process next week of getting things done for the election. The July 5th isn't when she starts. She starts.
Right, I understand.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
So I have a question. So July 1st, 5th means if somebody buys a home on July 4th, don't they need to get the letter saying that you have 30 days to be part of this and everything? So if you put that, I'm understanding it will be further along, is that correct?
Do you want to do that? I think your question is, if they buy the house on, assuming that the board approves a motion to adopt July 5th as the date of record, if someone bought their home on July 4th, would they need to receive the notice 30 days in advance of the election? Or is it just that they can place the ballot?
They would be entitled to place the ballot. One of the advantages of that date actually is the 4th is a holiday, so there would be no change in membership on that date. So we're only talking first, well, let me think, is the 1st a Sunday? I think the 1st is a Sunday.
Yeah.
Or it might even be a Saturday, I'm not sure.
I'm asking why can't it be May 28?
The second will be
Labor Day
Monday.
weekend.
So
Why
second's
can't it be-
Monday, so we're looking at only, what, 2 business days, 2nd, 3rd. Not many escrows are gonna close then, so there's, that little even hiccup potential is very limited for it, but it's, whoever is an owner of record as of that date has the right to vote. And those,
Okay.
Is there any
So
issue
I-
in putting May 28th as the date instead of July 5th?
what's that?
Is there any?
So I don't see like, 1 week is going to make much of a difference. I mean, it is just a,
And
Date.
it's the
So-
preparedness that they need time for the preparation of that.
right,
And
so I,
so those dates, it's kind of giving them the time, 30 days, we're in May now, and June, right?
Right.
So they
So-
got 30 days, less than 50 days to do this.
right. So I will pass the motion to set the record date as July 5th or June?
Make the motion.
July 5th.
So you're making that motion?
I'm making that motion to set the record date to July 5th.
I wish it could be sooner, but it sounds like you can't, so I'm going to second the motion.
So, what is it that I'm supposed to say?
All in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Any abstain? The motion carries.
All right.
Very good.
So can we move on to item number 3, the village
Okay.
tree situation? And I believe last week, Greg submitted some documents which was circulated to board members. So can we, do we have any analysis? Can we give him any kind of?
I shared that with you guys on the board. We should sit down and talk about those things. We have not had the opportunity to because of the way the Open Meeting Act goes. We should do that. I'd like to do that very soon.
We did, we
Well,
already
you
brought
told
it
us
up.
in
What,
give a
what
presentation.
is it that we're debating?
The village trees.
No. Why are we, is there anything else, what is there to discuss?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was an agenda that I asked that you guys would respond to. That's why I presented the material, okay? Now, Craig called me and said that he put it into a PDF form, and I asked him if he was going to share it with the rest of the board. He said he would do that. Now, Mark, you just told me when you were setting up the camera, do I need to discuss our conversation?
No, it's fine. I don't
He
have
said
it.
that he had not received it, all right? Now, am I spinning my wheels on this?
No.
Just because, or no, I'm just saying, because I came here tonight to give you a full
I
presentation.
got the
Okay.
email.
Okay. With the
So,
I didn't get it.
now that I see that the board is in disarray, that you guys are.
No, wait, let me shortcut for a second. I would like to make a motion that we cut the damn trees out and give him whatever money. They have selected somebody in due diligence who would be the right person to do the job. Let's go. I make the motion that we give them an okay to go.
I second that motion.
So,
Yeah.
The village, we're talking about the village trees. Now, what I would like, if you want to second it, and then if there's a discussion, I would like to hear what the problem is. But otherwise, let's go.
2 years.
So what was the motion again?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the people that the tree committee, the villas committee has selected to cut down the trees, and that we give them the okay, which means providing some dollars at the same time.
So it sounds like you're saying that they've selected a contractor?
Yes.
Who have you selected?
BP Trees.
Okay, is that it? I didn't see that in the documentation.
That is in the documents in there. BB Trees is in there, Care Trees is in there, and also S&J is in there.
Well, right, but I'm saying, I saw a lot of things that were in there. Are you saying that you've selected and you've price compared? Do we know?
Yes. Craig, I did all that homework. It was already approved by the prior board. So, would you continue with the motion? And I'll be more than happy to explain it all to you.
I'll second
If you
it.
want to hear it now, okay.
Okay, so wait, so the motion is seconded.
Yeah, right.
So now if there's discussion that we should have as to a good reason that you have, let's have the good reason. And then otherwise, let's go.
Well, I would love to have solutions to this. In fact, I was one who advocated to create this committee back last fall. And
Oh, Craig, please, please, let's just
get to the point.
Right.
I read that packet. I'm not sure I saw what you're referring to, so I would like to have a conversation about what the proposal is. And my duty of reasonable inquiry tells me that there's more that we should ensure. But I'm one of three on this board.
Can I ask from an ACC question here? These trees are going to be cut down. Are they going to be replaced with something on the approved tree list?
Let them finish and I'll answer your question.
Well,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that's-
so
Exactly. I'm
we're,
the one that's holding all the cards because I presented this earlier.
okay,
Okay?
so,
No, what I'm saying is I can answer your question. Let them make
Greg?
the motion so that we can really move forward.
well, Greg, wait, we made the motion. Hold on, wait, we made the motion, it's seconded, so now it's discussion. So wait, I'm gonna officially ask you. Greg, do you happen to have some information you could share with us that would document some of this and describe these things?
Yes.
Would you please do that?
Okay.
Thank you.
That information I just gave to Craig, there was 3 bids that I actually found 5 arborists. Those 5 arborists came out here and they said, Greg, let's walk the areas. We've identified the trees through Dimitri, which gave me a complete list that he did 6 years ago, that he identified the trees out here that were wrong. Right here, it says Preceda. This is the landscaping company that takes care of the lawns for the village. Preceda has this document, if anybody would like to look at it. These are the trees that are identified for every single home that are wrong, that needs to be replaced. There's a different grade.
Take a
Let me
look.
finish, yes, you can. There's a grade on here for every single home and the trees as the condition.
Every single tree, not just every home, but every tree.
Every tree. Craig even has a copy of this.
Yeah, I walked the land.
Would you let me finish, please? Yes. So Craig was a part of that too. And this was also made with the last board in all presentations, okay? Now, this list here is the same list that I gave to the other 5 arborists and the 3 arborists that I actually submitted those bids to. Now, in those bids, you're gonna have a tree removal, identifying the tree removal, you're gonna have a grinding, you're gonna have a root chase, which is chasing all the roots that are leading to all those different areas. And once they get in there, they'll be able to identify if you have another problem, which you call USA dig or something like that. So if it's wrapped around a water line or wire or whatever it is, they will actually go to it, figure it out, and let us know exactly what the extent of the damage is. Now, there is tree replacement. BP Trees, we asked, and I went to the city arborist. The city, this is the card. She is willing to work with us and come back. And she gave us a master list because the list that the package that was about 4 months ago that was submitted to all of the homeowners are wrong. Because the first tree that you can Google, and you can Google it now, is a hackberry. Hackberry is not a front yard tree, but that was on the package that was submitted to us for approval. So when I went down to the city and I asked, could you give me a city list? She gave us one. Now, on that list, what we did as a committee, sat down and said, what would the homeowners in the 99 homes would like on their trees? We came up with a list of 6 different trees. That's what you have to pick with, because it has to coincide with the city. So yes, we did that. So in this contract that I submitted, I said apples for apples. Give me a list of these trees, and are they approved trees for these little bitty lots? And they said, yes, Greg. The problem that you had, when the city did this, they did not put what you call feeding tubes. Feeding tubes runs the roots down because you guys are watering on a schedule. So the water's up here at the surface, so the root's gonna come up to the surface to get its water. But if you have a feeding tube and you drove it down, it's gonna go down because it needs to find the water down here. It's not that smart, all right? So once it goes down, yes, somebody said about a rock bed. Well, the rock beds are pretty deep, so pretty much by that time you won't have the roots on the surface. Already been approved, and I have a working person from the arborist from the city to approve them. All of that's been taken care of. So you will have a tree removal, root grinding, tree replacement. Also the bark, the leftover bark. We had to make a decision. Either they're going to haul it away or we're going to keep it. You're not going to replace a tree in the same places because it's a lot of acidic and all this other stuff. So all of this stuff I haven't learned, but I've covered everything. I submitted the bids to Craig last week, and that's why I was asking. Thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate that, because I have 4 people that want to have their trees removed. Now, I had asked way back in January or February, no, let me take that back, December, Dimitri, how much money do we have in the financials? Craig helped me with something because I was using the word budget. It wasn't budget, it was financial. How much money do we have in the bank to remove these trees? Because on an average basis, about 200 to 300 trees in the village. Some have 3 trees, some homes only have 1 tree. So what I did is I took an average and I said, how much is it going to be in there if we decide to do them all at once? Well, I still haven't gotten the financials or those hard numbers as to what's in the village reserve. Now, here's the question. The question is there a line item for village reserve? There's not. But we pay an additional $27.85. Here is the contract for proceeding, and this is what it states. Service, 99 homes, lots, at $20. If you add that up, there's a contract, $19.80. Where's the other $27.85? That's $27.85 times 99 times 12 times 12 and a half years. There should be close to about $300 and some $1,000 just for the village to say, hey, these trees are wrong, or could we go to our reserves and pull this money out and satisfy our homeowners? Well, it's not there. So what I proposed to the prior board is I said, hey, let me find out what's in our bank account, okay? I never got that information, and that was from Dimitri. I've asked several times. I even had Phil, which wrote Dimitri and says, hey, what's in the bank account? Can you give it to the village committee? I still haven't gotten it to this day because there is no reserve. So if when I had a conversation with Craig, is it all right that we talk about that, Craig? The conversation? Okay. So Craig called me the other day because he wanted a list of the rosters for the peoples in the village and on that committee. I resigned, Rachel resigned, Miko's still there, you know. So at that point, I asked him a question. Where are you going to get the money to take care of this? Would you like to address what she said?
I will address the answer. The answer is, and I've checked with our professionals on this, if the prior board, including the prior CFO and all the prior people, in any way failed to do their responsibility by keeping that funded, then my understanding, after asking, is that the current board has the opportunity to make it right. And I promise I will make it right.
Okay.
Where's it coming from?
Okay. So again, all I'm saying is I want to take care of those at least 5 people because they have tree damage and it's damaging their property. I'm going to do that. Now, I'm not going to put the burden back on the board and say, hey, well, where's the money? Where's the money? I'm not dealing with that. What I want to do is deal with the folks that want to have their trees taken out.
So is that what these bids are for those 5?
No, the bids are for all 99 homes. But I'm looking at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is you don't have the money to replace 250 trees at that cost. That's a lot. It's not in the account. It's not there. It's not there. It's not on the statement.
Do they all need to be replaced?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
You want, the city, when the developer planned out the community, they took that master list of trees to the city. The city took that list and said, oh, okay, and they signed it. Did they come over here and take a look at those villas and those little bitty lots? There's no way. Some of those trees have a 45-foot diameter radius.
Can I ask,
Yes.
how many different types of trees are in the villas to make a blanketed statement that they all have to be removed? I mean, how many different types are there? They can't all be invasive, can they?
You go walk through it. Go walk around. Go
I'm here to be the expert on the subject. I'm asking a question to educate myself. Please don't attack.
Right, so your question is, how many?
Different types of trees are there in the villas to be able to make the statement that they all have to be removed?
Okay.
Hackberries?
Hackberries, there's like 32 different species that are. There's valley oaks that are in there. Now here's the question that we asked about.
All 32 are invasive to be
Yes, it's because if you look at them, there's mulberries or what are they?
The fruit, the small berries?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're dying. They're dead.
Oh, I know they're dead.
Right, okay,
I
so,
know, yeah.
but that's supposed to be an established tree that wouldn't do any root damage, you're absolutely right. But they hadn't been taken care of in a proper manner, so they're with infestation and a whole bunch of other stuff. So, the best thing to do is, if you don't want the rest of them to get diseased, you remove your diseased ones. So if you go through there, yes, let's just say there's a total of 300. They've only identified the ones that are in a bad condition and the ones that are getting worse. So the numbers may not be a total of 250, it could be 200, but you're still going to replace most of the majority of the trees. And all of them have been identified by the product. Some houses have 3, some only have 1.
I agree with that.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I heard you say that they had been taken care of, or some of them had been taken care of properly. Is that
What, the trees?
the trees?
No, ma'am. Not the ones in the villas. And like I said, I don't know about
okay.
anything else
Because
outside.
I was going to suggest, what about the company that was contracted with to take care of these? If they were
And who was
not
that?
taken
Oh,
care of.
it's not, well, here it is. Here it is. In his contract right here, this is Brasida. Brasida doesn't do that. This is a basic contract. You know what they do? They mow, they blow, and they weed. That's it. And they'll tell you, this is basic. That's why John Brasida, I've talked to the owner of this company, his name is John Brasida. He says, Greg, you were the first person to reach out to me to rediscuss this contract. Our contracts are only good for 1 year. Do you know when this contract was signed? 2007. Yeah. So they've been out of contract since 2008, and this was from, again, clarification. When it went from Vieira Moore to NCM, okay, they were saying the people in the village are being overcharged. Okay, so their maintenance in the reserve should have been there to take care of all of your problems, replacement of sprinkler heads and all the other stuff. I've got the clarification right here that says your front yards and the nomenclature, as it reads, and this was from Vieira Moore. Your front yard landscaping will be right here, the definition. As used herein, landscaping shall include all trees, shrubs, flower beds, planters, grass, and any other ground covering, planting, sprinkler heads, systems, irrigations, and plant materials. So if you go back to your old budget statements or financial statements, you'll see that line item. It's not just those two little words that says tree, no, it doesn't even say trees, it says irrigation and plant replacement. This is the definition of plant replacement, everything I just read. So, and this was all of Anatolia, not just the villas. So, and this was signed in 2005 when Anatolia was going up. So again, I'm bringing a whole world of knowledge, but I only specifically told Phil I was going to work with the 99 homes over there. Because I had 2 homes, I'm down to 1 over there. But again, yes, we've identified every single tree, and everything that needs to go, will go. But again though, when I looked at the overall picture, I knew what we were up against, the financials, because I asked Dimitri that same exact question. Who's responsible for your roots tearing up your foundation, your house, your plumbing? Well, it's one quick touch of that. He told me the first time, it's the homeowners, and I said, I'm gonna ask you again, that's why I'm saying this in public forum. He said, the HOA. Now, am I gonna put that burden on the HOA? Really, it's the city's problem, because the city signed off on something when they should have came out here and just inspect the 99 home. I can't speak of the other homes, but you can tell.
Greg, what's the price, so what's the price?
The price for BP was, I think, I don't know, you have to look at the bids. I'm not even gonna guess. But you have to look at the bids. There's 3 different bids.
We have to
we
do
look
that
at 'em?
before,
Can we see 'em?
before spending money that we don't know what the amount is. I
Right,
mean, I would
and
love to
that's,
do that.
okay, and that's what I'm speaking of.
Right.
So what I would like in that process is at least take care of the 5 homeowners that have come forward and says, I've got a problem, which they've told Dimitri many a times, I need to have these trees cut out, which we've identified. So let's just start there as a process, right? But we still have to go back to the BP company that we selected to say, what is your minimum? Because their minimum may be 15 homes to be.
So maybe we ask, maybe we have Greg make that inquiry.
Okay.
Before we.
Okay, that's fine. I thought you had said the price was around $20,000.
No, I never said that. It's on those cards, and like I said, that's why I gave you the bids. And you should have that information. The highest was 80,000, and I think the lowest was 37, and there was another one that was 65 or 50, somewhere in there. Yes.
I have a question.
Hey, Bruce, can we sue the city for this?
Unfortunately, no, these trees in the villas were planted as part of the architectural design guidelines. I mean, the original builder probably put in the wrong tree, a shallow root tree, if my recollection is correct. Statute of limitations for landscaping is 1 year.
And that's to, and is that to the city?
To the original builder that installed.
Okay.
So the city has no liability?
Yeah, you can't fight City Hall, very hard.
And that was the case that we found at Metro Square when we had the tree problem. The builder put the trees in, City of Sacramento said, not our problem.
Builders always put in the trees that grow the fastest.
Yes.
They don't care. They just
So-
want it to look good.
So frustrating.
Yeah.
So then the
They all have
issue,
shallow roots.
the,
I've had
so
to
then
take trees
so
out
then
and
it's a
have the
clear
roots
issue
done.
Right.
of needing $80,000.
Right.
Right. But it may not be 80,000, because I think what I understand is the cost is only removing the trees. But when you remove the trees, when they are removing the trees, if the roots are damaging the lawn, that has to be replaced. Or if that is damaged the pipe, that has to be replaced. Or if it goes into the foundation, that has to be fixed. None of those are covered in your contract. I just wanted to, because I knew from the time it was explaining, that's why I wanted to bring that in. There are, and this is not, this is
So
not just for the
your
villas.
estimation, who would then take care of that cost?
The cost of the lawn and reseeding?
Yeah.
Is that what you're
the
saying?
lawn
Lawn and
And
reseeding?
piping and stuff like that.
That's all supposed to be done by front yard maintenance. That's why the reserves would have took care of all of that. So if we were to just use a fictitious number and said there's 300,000 in our reserves, you can go to your reserves and says, okay, well, we got 80,000 to replace all the trees. How much is it gonna cost to reseed? What it is Precita has reseeded 5 yards out, or 5 homes out here. I know for a fact, since I bought my first one in 2009, they stripped the whole front yard and planted all new seed. They only did it for 5 homes. And I asked, was that a test basis? And they said yes, because we wanted to kind of see what the cost is. When you're paying for front yard landscaping, it's all in there, grass. When they said grass, that means you're on the hook for the grass. No matter if you're tearing out the tree and you gotta replace a piece of sod, you go get sod. So all of that should have been in there for the reserves. So all I'm saying is I want to work with the board because I didn't know what's going to be in the account, as the word, the account, to say, hey, I can't promise everybody over there, hey, we're going to get them all done, we're going to get your yards done and everything else, if the money's not in the account. I explained that to the board, and the board says, Greg, let's work with this. What do we need to do? Okay? So I identified the people that came forward and says, Greg, I really need to have this taken out. And I said, okay, let's go ahead and do that. Now the rest of the homeowners.
I'll continue that promise.
Yes, exactly, right. So the rest of the homeowners it's gonna be staggered. And on top of all this, there's gotta be a cutoff. And I was gonna talk to Uni about this, is because we need to draw up a letter to say all of the homeowners, which may not live here, they can live wherever, A letter has to go out to them to say, hey, look, this is the issue, and after this cutoff date, then the liability is now on the homeowner.
Identified.
Identify it, and then the process is in its own. That's it.
Okay, so we need to have that conversation now among ourselves, right? And so how do we unwind that?
You could simply withdraw the motion to be taken up at a later time when we have fuller information. and deal with it.
No.
So what are you saying?
What I'm saying is that you made a motion to approve and allow us to get these trees out now.
Right.
Okay, and you, the board, needs to come up with where the money is, and it's not our concern how or where you do that. We have been waiting for years, Craig, and you're aware of that.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
And we don't want it stalled anymore.
Okay, but we have to have that discussion. So I don't want to withdraw the motion. Do we continue? What's the proper wording to say that we want to adjourn to have a discussion?
Well, certainly, contract formations can be done in executive session. So you can, withdraw the motion if you're not, it's kind of, the motion's dangling out there, it needs to either be seconded, if it's not seconded.
It was seconded.
It hasn't been voted. Your question, he moved to do it, I'm doing my Robert's rules, whether or not they can certainly, someone can move to amend, well, once you have a second.
Can amend it.
Right. It's usually, that motion is there.
Could he
so-
table it for a future, once we have the information on costs?
Can you amend
You
it?
have the information and cost.
Yeah.
I gave it to you, Craig.
Well, I mean, just so we're clear, this is very esoteric procedural stuff. You can say, vote against the motion to then remove to do something. This is not Senate, the United States Senate, where we're bound by, you can't bring it back for 48 hours or any of that, so.
We need some time to discuss it. To figure out, to look at that number and to say go.
So my problem is like, we need the money.
Yeah.
And I don't have the information as to where. I would definitely approve to like go and get it fixed tomorrow, right? But I need him to tell me that we have the money.
Do we have the money,
problem.
Adam?
So,
We have our accountant who can
At least
answer
for
that
5
question.
trees?
Can't you do at least the first five trees? Wait, Craig, can't we do at least the first 5 trees? I know we should have the money to do that.
Well, hold on, let him talk.
Oh, go ahead.
Any kind of question money comes up, I'm like, I'm not comfortable hiding it. So I have draft financial reports from NCM, and Dimitri and Tony explained to me, these are just draft financial reports, but I remember the balance being fairly consistent on this particular account. There is a First Citizens Bank account that's labeled villas on the balance sheet. You could assume fairly safely, but not with any high levels of certainty. That was designated for that purpose. I've got I'm a CPA, I have to qualify everything. The amount is, in that account, $55,607.08.
Really?
There's your extra $20.
Not even.
That's your, yeah, okay.
That's that $20 accrued.
So can we get the first 5 done, as Greg
Yeah.
asked? I mean, we have enough there, we have enough sitting there to do 5.
So what's the cost of the 5?
You have to, I'm gonna have to call BP and says, what's your minimum first?
Okay.
And then I can get a cost as to what those 5 are.
Okay, so will you do that?
Yes, I will.
Okay, so we're trying to figure out how to
word it.
stretch this so that we don't.
Make
so
a
that-
motion with a cap on a dollar amount that they're willing to spend right now.
I could roughly say,
There
let's
is a motion on the
say
table.
350, let's just say 350 times.
Let's say 5 trees.
Yeah, to remove, because I know somebody said they just had one done for about $300, so let's just say 350 for 5.
Would you like
Per
to
tree.
see this
Because what I'm saying is you're getting a better deal doing 200 treatment if you want to.
What about all,
500?
You have 60,000.
what about all
You have 60,000
plumbing?
in reserves.
Yeah.
Take half of that.
You start ripping out those trees, you're gonna rip out all those.
Authorize half.
And all of them, sprinklers and all that stuff is part of
You know, they spend it already.
part of the reserve.
Some of his suggestions are actually good, but not, from what I understand, not all of them are.
How soon can you get back to the cost?
No, so this is suggesting replacement.
So Adam just provided this information, which is the bid from VP Trees. For all of the trees, is 37.6.
There you go.
It is.
We have enough money.
Come on.
Let's go.
Please, yes, please. Yeah, I knew I said 37.
So, assuming that that wasn't talking about the villa's ice cream fund. Joke, it's a joke, it's a joke. Okay. So, would you ask, and can we table the motion until you tell us that number, and then we can vote on that number?
Okay, are you asking just for the 5, or are you asking for
Just
all
the
of them?
5 first.
For the
Just
5 for the
first?
moment?
Okay,
But-
perfect.
but-
Because like I said, they may say, whoa, well, we need a minimum of at least 10 trees, because it's not worth our crew coming out there to replace 5.
Right, well,
Right.
and the good news is, if there is this 55,
Mhm.
and it's, that money is supposed to be.
Right.
Then let's have Craig weigh in on this, but it would seem to me that we might be able to say.
Yes, we
Okay,
can go.
so, but I think we just need,
Council would like to speak.
It's a suggestion, because anytime the board has to make a decision, you've got to notice a meeting, even if it's executive session, it's at least 2 days.
Right.
One way of addressing that is to authorize the president to act and give him a threshold amount. You can't spend over $1 million or whatever, or if you give the president authority to a certain amount, you don't have to then notice another meeting if he brings it back. And it's an efficiency standpoint. Recall how much you guys get paid to be board members. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, add it up, just times it by 0. So to the extent you can authorize the president within a threshold.
20,000.
20,000.
20,000.
No, we
Right,
have,
because if you don't need it, it's yours.
That's
anyway.
right.
The money is there. It's the village.
Yeah.
Right.
Keep in mind,
it belongs to us.
Guys,
keep in mind, the other 94 homeowners would be paying into this with the money that they've been paying for years and that they're going to be continuing to pay for years. So we want to make sure that we're fair to the 94, not just to the 5.
no, but it would. Just to make it simple, so just,
Bruce wants to say something.
What we're noodling over here, that we think we have the money in the account. And so there's one of these, I don't want the board to green light something and then for us to come back saying, you know what? That said this, but upon further review, that was a mislabeling or something, and shucks, we got a problem. So I'm trying to build in some caveats that provided everything is okay.
So we really need to make a good decision. Good decisions take a little bit of time, and let's make it.
No.
Let's make it.
No.
It's been too long.
No.
Let's make a quick decision, but let's do it right. Greg's gonna get the information. Let's hear what our professionals have to say, and let's make a decision quickly so that we can move forward on this.
Wait, we can do 5,000, right? 5,000 isn't gonna break our bank, and that's what we need to do, the 5 trees plus.
right, so if we amend the motion, for Mark, she's the president, she's got to do it, but for Mark, we'll say, so we'll do a cap of 5,000
Immediately.
immediately pending Adam going down to the bank and seeing the money.
There you go.
There you go.
I'm willing to work with the board. Like I said, yeah. I like it. At least,
Oh, we need to find out that we're.
many years?
For the first
A cap of 5,000 for the first 5 trees.
So, for the specific purpose of removing and replacing the trees of villas.
So the 2750.
Right, so we amending the motion to be that, I make a motion that we approve.
So
up to
let us first, then let us squash the previous motion first and put a new motion on the table.
So
Is
who
that
made the
okay?
original motion?
I did.
Okay, so are you withdrawing that to replace it with a new one?
I'm going to withdraw that motion to replace it with a new one.
I
So
second it.
I hear.
So the new motion is?
Oh, I said at the same time? Or,
Well, I
we
think
didn't vote on holding up the other.
Well, I think you just withdrew the other one. So
Yeah.
now you're-
Oh,
As the submitter.
Oh, okay. I didn't know I had that kind of power.
Don't let it go to your head.
So I make a new motion, or it's actually, it's a motion, it doesn't even have to be, it's a motion, that we approve immediately with contingency up to $5,000 to handle this first group of homes, pending Adam determining that the money actually sits in the bank.
By tomorrow? Adam? Can you know that by
Can
tomorrow?
you,
I'll place a call to NCM to verify that. We may have picked up a check earlier today for that account, in which case I could verify it for tomorrow for sure.
So how about to Monday?
Then I should get a response from NCM by Monday.
No, you said no later than when?
I should be able to get a response from NCM by Monday on that.
Okay.
And I will do my part by calling BP, because I'd really like to know, because they said, hey, Greg, we'd like to get on schedule, but I said I have to wait on the board.
Okay.
so I'll second the motion.
Okay.
I'm gonna vote for it, I think that's a good idea.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
so
you.
everyone in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you,
Anyone
guys,
opposed?
thank you.
Look at that.
And I don't think we should be waiting till 10 o'clock to pass motions like this. We should be much faster.
I didn't hear the motion carries. Did you say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, guys, can we move on to item number 4, please?
Thank you, board, I appreciate that.
Yay, Greg.
Way to go, Greg!
Persistence.
Thank you, board.
Are we having fun or what?
Yes.
That's right. I was part of that too, so thank you guys so much. Many years. Thanks.
All right, so item number 4, please. The current state and options plans going forward.
Right, so in this part of the agenda, we see there was a promise that I made on April 17th to hold these meetings. And I'm fulfilling that promise. I am fulfilling it. Number 1, the clubhouse one was held last May 6th. There were about a dozen people there. Thank you for joining. Number 2, 3, 4, and 5, I'm offering these dates. May 13th, let's please scratch that out and put May 12th. May 13th is Mother's Day.
So just so you know, these are all like not board meetings.
So these are not board meetings.
These are open?
Open question and answer sessions. May not have answers to every question. Certainly can answer questions that people may have if they're ones where the answer is readily available.
So
Do we know which board member is going to be in each one?
Say that again?
Do we know which board member is going to be in each one since you guys
That
have all
is
the same
kind of
ones?
my
Let me speak to
question.
that. So, as you know, we can't get together to talk about HOA business. So since these are not board meetings, we can't all be there. We can't even 2 of us be there. What I will do, I will be available here in the clubhouse from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. on each of these days. And if others would like to also be available during other time slots on those days, that's great. I'm saying I would like to be available if it's the sense of the group that you'd like to have these meetings.
So my issue is that even I would like to know, because since you have been in the board for as long as you have, I would like to know all these too, but since I cannot be there, I don't see how, and since Mark cannot be there, how can we like?
Maybe Bruce can help us out.
I have an idea, why don't you just make them board meetings? Make them days that you can be there and then make them board meetings.
Well, we can't for the 12th. because we
Is there a
don't
way
have
just
an
to
Yeah,
outline.
make-
we're already
Yeah,
too
Jordan
close.
told me, but we can move it
Push
to
that
the
one
other
off.
day.
Is there a way to make it this continuous Thursdays until they're all addressed?
So I don't remember all the dates of our next board meetings, but isn't it like always every Thursday?
What about the 2-day notice?
Right.
There was a 2-day meeting we can put without any board action, right? Can we do that?
That is an executive meeting.
Oh, executive.
It is an executive meeting.
No, what he's saying is a town hall meeting with no board action, is that possible?
So the cause for this was there were a lot of questions. As you know, there were a lot of leftover questions from prior management, prior board, lots of other open questions. And I started this back on April 17th, when at that point, I was like the last of the 5 guys carrying the couch up the stairs when the other 4 left, and now I've got this couch that I'm the only one holding.
Which we expected you to go to.
I made a commitment to the neighborhood. I offered these as an opportunity for everyone to come with questions. I don't know what all the questions are going to be. They might be things I've never heard of. I don't even know the answer. But I want to, in the interest of openness and transparency, I want people to feel that they have an open door.
So,
But Craig, shouldn't they be part of that since they are?
So
Yeah.
Bruce, the question is that since me and Mark are new to the board, and with these open meetings, it seems like we cannot be there. So is there a way?
An option is, if they're not for the purpose of conducting business, i.e. taking a vote by the board to take an action, notice them as a informational board meeting.
Board meeting.
How many days notice on that?
4 days notice.
So we'll have to put on.
And by the way, and what happens though is if 2 of you don't show up, no problem. And if all 3 of you show up, no problem. Just, you're not going to go, okay, item of business, taking action on, do I have a motion, do I have a second?
Okay.
Basically, those are the types, the only motion and second you would typically have is, I move to adjourn the meeting. Second, all in favor. Literally, that would be the only
Okay.
action item.
All right. So I'm good. So maybe we can come up with the actual, dates that is.
So I've had my hand up for a while, and I was kind of, and people with a louder voice seems to get in. I thought that having my hand up would mean something, but that's not what I just kind of want to add something. On the 6th, I called Clubhouse just to confirm that we were going to have that. And I was told no. The person who I talked to, who answered the phone, looked around, and I can't remember their name. They checked.
What did you ask for?
I asked if there was going to be a meeting on the 6th. Was there a meeting on the 6th?
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I asked, and they looked around at the bulletin board or whatever, and they said no. I just want to let you know what happened.
Right, so that is kind of what you were saying. It is kind of Craig's meeting. It is not a board meeting.
It was posted though. They might not have looked, but it was posted.
Yeah, and there was a meeting, we attended.
It was there, yeah.
Yeah, because I was going to attend it, but since I was told no, there isn't one.
That's unfortunate. That shouldn't have happened.
So
It was posted.
Real quick.
You've got the 12th, that's a Saturday. I hope you know that.
I think most of it is Saturdays.
They're
right?
like
Isn't it?
weekends.
Saturdays or
Or
Sundays.
Saturday.
All are on
Those are
Sundays.
family time.
Is there a way to just do weekly Thursdays until they're all addressed?
Well, I'll
But this
tell
is
you.
meant to get a lot of people.
Yeah.
For specifically to be not weekdays, so hopefully people will come to be at the meetings rather than just.
I hear a lot of people saying that they can't come to board meetings because they're always during the week, and, oh, I'm in New York all the week, and I only come here on the weekends. Can you please do something to answer my questions that's not on a Wednesday or Thursday or whatever? I get that a lot.
So why don't we do this? Let us keep like 2 meetings on the weekend and maybe get a pulse of how many more people show up. And then maybe we can make a call whether we want to continue it on the rest of the weekend. So
We also
can do it on
we need to
the
put the time also, because
Right.
earlier the time was also
We're
not
good
there.
with you.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Sure. All right, so maybe we can have the May 6th is already gone. Right?
Yeah, number one's gone, so
So number 2, May 12th, can we have?
No, that's too soon.
It's too soon, it doesn't give you 4 days.
Yeah.
You have to
Oh, right.
have 4 days.
Oh, right. Yeah, only
Unless you
on
don't go to the meeting.
So what about
Right? If you don't go, then it's just for the
If people have questions about CCNRs, I just want to be there to answer questions. Can we do that? I mean, people are asking questions. Can we say, anyone who has questions, come out on May 12th from 4 to 6 and ask questions?
I think the board needs, I think other people need to be there, because I'm sure you want to know too, right?
Well, that's what Mark was saying.
That's
He would
right.
like to know.
I mean, that's the whole point, is he's a homeowner too.
Interpretation too.
Well, that's what he's
That's right.
saying. He'd like to- So, but if we do that, then it has to get put off till next week.
Well, that's not going to hurt anything. I mean, it's, what's 4 days? We've been waiting 12 years.
So can
Well,
we,
but that is four.
can we
If you want to
do,
do it on Saturday, then it has to be
so,
following weekend. So it's technically 9 days.
so I'm just,
Actually, Rachel, you make a good point. Folks, Rachel makes a good point. A lot of these problems have been persisting for many, many years. But I don't want to let the perception be out there that I haven't been open and offering time with people. I've put in a lot
And you
of
have,
hours
Craig.
and days and evenings and weekends, not only working on these things, but being available to people to talk about these questions. So I agree with you, it's been years that these problems have persisted, but I want to make sure that there's not a perception that all of a sudden now you have an opportunity to ask me things that you haven't before. That's not true.
I understand
Okay, I
that,
wanna make
and
sure
you
that
have been.
perception
I'm
is-
not trying to say that you haven't, Craig,
Right.
or any of the other board members for that matter, but the fact is that 4 days is the prescribed time frame, and it would behoove all of the board members to become educated, just like we're becoming educated, and I don't think it's gonna make a difference if it's just 4 days.
so can we, I don't know if you can, maybe next Thursday, have like CCNR and financial management as an information session, is that okay?
Do people want to bunch these up? He's suggesting that we do multiple.
Just
No.
maybe one,
I'm seeing
Okay.
no, I'm seeing heads.
That's fine.
maybe
So-
just one at a
Okay.
time.
Yeah, one or
So do you want to do CCNR on 17th, the Thursday, next Thursday, is that okay?
Yes, I do.
No, not for me. No.
Okay. Do you want to do it on the weekend, Andy?
I'm happy with the 12th, and if Craig wants to take the time out of his schedule, I'm happy just to meet him to get answers. 'cause
No,
I have a lot
the
of
problem is
questions.
that I cannot be there.
I know,
right?
I know,
So
I
need to-
understand that.
So I want to be educated too.
I know,
so-
I understand. I'm just saying if it doesn't work for everybody else, we can't have this 4 days. I have questions, and I want answers specifically on this topic. So I'm saying that I am happy to be there on the 12th to talk to Craig. I'm putting that out to you if you want to open your schedule up. Anybody else could probably do the same thing. I believe it should be collective so that we all have the same answers. We can all raise different questions. But I personally have a lot of questions on this subject that I would like answers to, and I'm going to make myself available on a weekend.
Okay, so 4 days that would be, you wouldn't be able to do it like the next weekend?
So that is fine, you can do the 12th, but can we also do a meeting on Thursday?
On the same one, yeah.
For just the CCNR? So that, everybody can
I'd like
come
to
and
be
get
there.
educated on that.
17th, is that what you're saying?
Well,
17th, 17th,
What
yes.
about the 19th?
The 12th for just an informal.
Correct.
And then the 17th for an informal board.
I can come.
As an informational board meeting.
Informational board, yeah.
Is that okay?
How about this? I can't tell you how much of my time I put into this, and I can't let my professional life or my family life suffer more than a certain amount. I'm willing to hold these sessions. I'm not duplicating sessions. I will do a trade. Since we just did an item on Villa's landscaping, maybe we trade the June 17th for a May 17th.
Why would
I don't know that that's fair to the Villa's landscaping people.
May 17th?
Yeah,
Or
you're down
May
You're
12th?
asking me for a May
Bottom of the
17th.
list.
Oh,
For
right,
June
right.
17th?
Yeah.
Well, you can take June 17th off from the, what are you gonna discuss on the villas? You wanna see the progress?
I think we moved that up to today.
Yeah.
Oh, we moved that up, so you can take that off.
Then let's cross off Roman numeral 5, and we'll add another one between 2 and 3 for May 17th. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
For CCNR enforcement?
What day?
17 next Thursday?
What
And
time,
I'll still do the May 12th.
what time?
Thank you.
7 o'clock is okay?
Yeah.
Whoever can come.
Is there a reason to do 7 and not 6? Was there like a past precedent, Craig, that maybe you think?
I
Like
can
people
do
could
6,
make
that's
6
fine.
or?
6 is fine.
I'm just wondering,
I'd kind of like to let my kids have dinner and then come out.
Yeah. 7 is a much better
I didn't know if
time.
there was a-
You just some family.
Well, I didn't know if there was a reason. 7. But that makes sense. Then you get home and-
So on the 17th at 7 o'clock, May 17th
May
at 7
17th.
o'clock,
Okay.
we will have an informational board meeting for CCNR enforcement.
Okay.
I pass a motion to have the meeting. Do I have to pass a motion?
I don't think we need a motion.
No.
Yeah,
because it's a
just
informal
schedule.
meeting.
But we
So
just
we
need
can
to make
do
sure
the
that's
schedule,
posted.
and Jane, you can just put that,
Or the calendar is an informal board meeting.
right, and you can put the agenda as just CCNR, a discussion about CCNR enforcement.
Amar?
And that's gonna be the only,
That's
only
all,
two items.
yes.
And I also will do the May 12th from 4 to 6 p.m.
So May 12th and May 17th.
May 12th, 6 o'clock.
Hey Craig, what's the 12th?
4 to
6?
6. 4
4
to 6.
Yeah.
What's the 12th gonna be on? CCNRs?
Yes, sir.
Is there a provision in the new website to ask questions and get answers? Rather than, if somebody's got a specific question, let's put a place on the website where they can do that, and not on Nextdoor. Nextdoor is more like Facebook.
Do we have that, Jane?
Is that,
Craig met with the web designer.
We all did.
Yeah, the whole board met with the web designer and launched the website, and I was not privy to that meeting.
So do we have that, Amar?
so the website is up, but I don't know if this particular functionality is live yet. But yeah, the website is up, you can go and check it out.
We don't have a Q&A.
The Q&A is,
We don't have
Is
Q&As.
that, is that in the plan? Is that in the plan to do sometime later?
I did not see that in the plan or the design.
Can we put it in the plan?
You gotta do it.
Begin with.
Okay. So you need a motion for that, right?
I don't think we need a motion for that. It is just changing the website. All right,
Well, if it costs money.
so do we need to go ahead and do the
So-
others?
So I'd like to get these dates on the calendar. I realize there are fewer people in the room than there were at the start of the meeting. I want to be moving these around once they're calendared. So does anyone who wants to talk about financial management have any problem with June 3rd? Does anyone who wants to talk about maintenance on the clubhouse have any problem with June 10th? Seeing none.
What
If it's a
time?
board meeting, I will not be here.
June 3rd?
June 10th, I will not be here.
So June 3rd is a more important meeting, I think, where, a lot of these questions presented. And what time are we talking about, June 3rd?
I'll be available from 4 to 6.
What's the June 3rd, Saturday or
It's a Sunday.
They're both Sundays.
Sunday. Yeah,
They're both
it's been hard
Sundays.
for me to.
And let's be really clear, because we had some misunderstanding early in this meeting. These meetings are for questions, and if the answers are available, and I'm sure my colleagues will be more than happy to share the information. If there's a question about something that's not ready yet, it's not ready yet. There's a difference between a quick answer and the right answer. We deserve the right answers, not quick answers.
But that's financials. I mean, that should be actually on a Thursday where everybody can be present, even if it's just informative. I mean, if we're gonna take a piece of this elephant and take pieces, let's take pieces. But make it available when other people can be there too, because quite frankly, Saturdays and Sundays, although I don't have a whole lot to do, people have kids and they do things.
But I think, I thought it was rather obvious that on these kind of informational things, for people,
Right.
that you can't, that it's easier to say on the weekend.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't have this discussion with Craig, so it's not like I know this, but this, this to me would be, look, this is that kind of a simple thing, like, you know, it's the one time in the week where somebody could come. Now, obviously, somebody might not be able to come.
And you have the video recording anyways.
What we won't do, we may not.
But I'm just saying.
Yeah, but I'm just meaning that.
Maybe financial is kind of important, so maybe we want to, you know.
Okay.
So third is fine. I think we'll have Jane. Third.
On the third?
The third
That's the
June
financials?
for financial management.
Okay.
And then maybe change the maintenance to the June 17th.
Come on, what time?
What time is preferable for
4 to 6?
third? 4 to 6?
4 to 6.
Please. 4 to 6?
And this is another informal meeting
Yes.
with just financials is the agenda?
Yes.
Financial management.
Financial management, okay.
I'm a little concerned if we post this as an informational meeting,
I'm putting informal meeting,
informal meeting.
informal
Are you
meeting.
okay with that, Bruce? As an informal meeting? I don't know, what does that mean?
That means no board action.
Is that what that means?
It'll be agended as no board action.
Can we put these all together so that we don't miss or like deadline?
I think it might be helpful to put in the title of that it's 4 questions and answers. It's not just for us to be talking about something informal. It's,
It is.
there's nothing for us to be discussing or, it's
Q&A
for
session.
everyone. It's, as promised on April 17th, open Q&A.
Okay. Andy?
Since I was the only one that was not able to meet on the 17th of May, my complication was with ACC that night, and I've talked with Amber, and we are going to mention to Mike that we would need to be out by 7 that evening so that we could come to that meeting. So my point is, Craig, I don't want you to make yourself available on the 12th just for me. So that can be taken off your schedule if you'd obviously still like to meet with other homeowners.
I can't meet the
so be it.
17th either.
Okay,
I'm
so then the
out.
12th is open, okay. That's up to Craig, but I'm saying you don't have to be there just for my questions.
Very kind of you. I'll stick with the May 12th because it sounds like there may be others.
Okay.
And
Okay,
then,
then I'm putting on the agenda is financial management Q&A
Yes,
for the
thank you.
agenda
That's
item.
fine, thanks.
For May 12th?
No, that's June
For the
3rd.
June 3rd.
June
Okay.
3rd. And then, are we planning to have one on June 10th also?
June 10th is from the professionals who developed the maintenance manual. There were questions about what did they use as inputs and other questions.
So we can do another informal meeting on June 10th.
4 to 6?
Same, 4 to
as well.
6. 4 to 6.
And for what purpose?
Presentation from
It's on the agenda.
the
Maintenance manual.
the maintenance manual, questions on the maintenance manual. That's fine. All right, so the last meeting, the last point on this agenda is something that I put, and it is security monitoring around the clubhouse and the neighborhood. A few weeks back, me and Mark, we ran into a situation around this clubhouse where a bunch of kids were openly consuming alcohol and doing drugs out in the parking lot here on a Monday night. And he confronted, he called the cops, and it kind of got a little ugly. And I see that happening almost every Monday. Sometimes they're on this side and sometimes they're on this side. So I just wanted to see if we can start like a neighborhood watch or some thing that can keep an eye on, because Monday things are closed, right? Nobody is here. And they are just they're openly doing it. I mean, there was a truck, they pull up a truck or a car and they keep the alcohol bottles right up on the top and they're consuming. And they are getting drunk, they are doing like wheelies around the corner on Chrysanthemum at night, and it's bad.
Now, is that city property that?
Half of it is ours, half of it is city, but this side is ours. And they
Park district.
Park district.
Half is ours, half is the park district, not city.
Park district.
What half?
So this half is ours, the other half is.
The half right in front of the courts is the Rachel Grove Park.
But this side is ours.